special intentions?
Thank you, ma'am. Do we have any special intentions? Councilman Carroll?
Testing, 1, 2. Thank you, Mr. President. I'd like to ask for your prayers for our related perpetual health schoolmate of mine, Mr. Joe Sr. Joe passed a couple of days ago. He and I, our families grew up in South Kenner, been there our entire life, and Joe was a good friend of mine. We see him lots of time throughout the city. He had been dealing with some illnesses a pretty long time, but he succumbed to them, and I ask for your prayers for Mr. Joe Sr. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Councilman Carroll. Any other special intentions? Special intentions? Okay, at this time, I'd ask that Miss Penny Frame, she is a civic leader in the city of Kenner, and she's the president of the River Region Republican Women Organization. We ask if she can come to the front and lead us in prayer. Please stand, everyone.
Thank you for inviting me to do this today. In the Bible, in 2 Chronicles 7:14, it says, "If my people who are called by my name humble themselves and pray and seek my face and turn from their wicked ways, then I will hear from heaven and will forgive their sin and heal their land." Please pray. Lord, we need your kindness to rest upon us so we can be kind to others. We need to encourage, empower, to help those who cannot help themselves. Guide us to those who need loving words spoken over them and loving arms wrapped around them. Heal those who are sick and those who are hurting hearts. Lift up those who are weary and those who are struggling to put their homes in order. Give patience and wisdom to our leaders and laborers that we may work hard and in hand to restore our city. We ask you to be with Mr. Joe's family as they deal with his passing. Romans 12:12 says, "Rejoice in hope. Be patient in tribulation. Be constant in prayer." Lord, thank you for the people you have placed in leadership positions. Give our leaders wisdom to carry out your will and the courage to stand against evil and the knowledge to discern between right and wrong. In obedience to you, we honor those in authority. Lord, we lift up our military members and families to you today. We appeal to you that you will direct the path of each service member and inspire every decision made that affects our military. May they seek to depend on you and trust in your power. Keep each of them safe as they serve our nation. Lord, thank you for being our rock, our protector, hiding place, strong and mighty tower. We pray that you would forgive us our sins and allow this country to be used for your glory. Fear not, for I am with you. Be not dismayed, for I am your God. I will strengthen you. I will help you. I will uphold you with my righteous right hand. We ask these things in the name of your precious Son, Jesus. Amen.
Amen. Thank you for the wonderful prayer, Mrs. Frank.
Thank you.
Next, we'd have Councilman Brannigan, if you'd lead us in the pledge, sir.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Before we start, I have a little comment I'd like to make. At our last meeting, which was quite lengthy, we heard from the administration and several contractors regarding their good work in helping our residents get back on their feet. And I got to say, we really did well. So thank you very much. Well, I also wanted to take this opportunity to take a minute or two about this Kenner City Council up here. When it comes to policy, sometimes we may not all agree. And that's actually healthy at times. But in the wake of Ida, we band together like brothers and sisters in a dogfight for a common cause. That is to restore our beloved city and help our residents to the best that we could, trying to get back to where we all were before Ida. To acknowledge all of us stayed for the storm. That's to my understanding. We all attended most of the regular daily meetings for update statuses for our city. We all constantly disseminated important information to our residents. We all surveyed poles and power lines down, lights out, traffic signs down, and we reported them and still are doing so. We assisted in loading food, ice, water, and even pet food into the trunks of vehicles of those people who needed help. We all fielded lots of complaints and submitted them. All of these efforts were being accomplished in the midst of helping our own families and neighbors and going forward with regular legislative duties, such as ratifying our budget, beginning our redistricting efforts, and reviewing many contracts. We continue to hold 2 regular council meetings per month as required by our charter. While keeping in mind that we all have not been permitted to return to our council chambers in City Hall, and our council offices are not habitable, we do hope, however, that we return to our regular chambers as soon as possible. As we fielded many extra duties during these difficult times, we have managed to keep the train solidly on the tracks. I am proud of the efforts of each and every one of my colleagues in the wake of Ida. A job well done. I would also like to give a special thank you to the council staff, Natalie Hall and Teresa Hastings, both of whom made lots of difficult adjustments during Ida. And in the wake of it as well. Also, I'm sure that every council person has had lots of extra support from their council assistants. We thank all of them too. Great job for the Kenner Council and staff. Bless you all. Thank you. Thank you. Madam Clerk?
Yes, sir. You have a quorum this evening. Councilman Segure is absent. Do we have any resolutions, motions, or other items from the floor?
None.
Seeing none. Under the consent agenda, we have item 1, approval of minutes, the regular council meeting of September 17th, 2021. Item 2 is approval of alcoholic beverage permit applications. We have none. Item 3 is approval of bingo and public gathering applications. We have none. Item 4 is correspondence, reports from the mayor, CAO, or department heads. Item 4A, at the request of the administration, a report from Mayor Zahn.
Mayor Zahn, you have the floor, sir.
Thank you, Council. Thank you, Council Chairman. We don't have as long as mayor comments this time. We probably take about maybe 45 minutes to an hour. Well, last time it was like 4 or 5 hours. But I have to say it was a very concise presentation for all the things that we've done. And I did recognize the council last time for their efforts. I want to go ahead and recognize my staff also for doing what they have done. So I appreciate everyone, through the executive staff, through all the directors, through all the teams that were out there, all of our civil servants, that's covering everybody. So thank you to all of those members of the administration also. But also thank you to y'all for being there with us. I want to talk about 2 things myself, and then Chad Pitfield will talk about the recovery effort with debris, which I'm sure everyone wants to hear where we are with that. And also Deborah Foshi will talk about the building damages, and then Adam will talk a little bit more about housing, temporary housing. So let me just talk about the housing a little bit. So we reached out to survey all of our housing assistance needs for our employees. When we asked the employees, we found out about 50 employees in the city of Kenner are without housing or need some type of housing through damages, no house at all, nothing to return to. 50 employees need that. We began working very quickly with FEMA, also with other groups to help us, which we had those presentations last time. Came up and let y'all know who we're working with to get those things done. This past week, we secured several options. The first thing was 7 of those employees went to hotels. So we have 7 employees right now in hotels in this area. Then we found housing for some others that might want trailers or yurts. And Adam will get to that in just a minute, which I'll also get to a tour that I want to do with you all that you'll receive an email on. 11 more employees will make decisions on the options in the coming days. So they have either option to go into a hotel room, which 7 of them have done, into the trailers, or into these tents, which are like yours, which are actually housed here. I think this team has done a great job working with outside resources, our insurance adjusters, all the people that have come in to help the city of Kenner, but most importantly, to help our employees. A lot of these employees are employees that were not able to return, but have decided to return to their employment here with the city of Kenner because they want to work. So we got to give them some type of housing, and I think we owe them that. So that is a good way of doing it. If you can make the tour tomorrow, which each and every one of you all should have gotten an email on, to tour this facility of what we've done to return different departments to our residents, which we have started building out temporary spaces throughout this building, similar to what you have here. Also some offices for you all, if y'all choose to send your assistants back to a workspace to serve the community, to serve your residents, which you made very clear just a few minutes ago, Council Wilmot, that's extremely important, and your assistants have been helpful. They could be a lot more helpful here with this administration. So we'll show you all that tomorrow. We'll show you the temporary housing, how we had that set up. The temporary housing is in a different area set off from the Convoy of Hope that's using storage at this building. So remember, while we've been here, Convoy of Hope, the Humane Society of Louisiana, have also used this building for things, as Entergy used the parking lot. Entergy is gone, and I want to thank Councilman McKinney and also you, Councilman Wilmot, for delaying that council meeting by a week. Because I tell you, if I had a week after last council meeting, we would be able to get a free parking lot, and we were able to do that. So Chad Pitfair worked very, very closely with Entergy to make sure that they were, I hate to say gone, but they've gone to other areas to service other communities, and they were very helpful while they were here. So that if you can make that council tour, please respond. I believe Michelle sent it out. Please respond to Michelle so we know who's coming. If you get here between 3 and 3:15, I think you'd be very impressed with what Mark Glorioso and Kenny Melvin have done with their teams to build out some type of city hall for our residents. We have no place else to go. Deborah will cover your concerns about the council chambers and the other buildings in a few moments, but this is temporary. Temporary might be for a month, temporary might be for a while, I don't know. But for right now, our residents deserve some type of city hall. You won't find it at 1801 Williams Boulevard right now. They don't deserve to go in there, and I will not put my employees in there. So as we all work together, and I appreciate that, I want to continue to work together to make sure that we return some type of government to our people that they deserve. And the government they deserve is the government they had before Ida. With that, Chad's going to come up and talk about recovery and debris. If you could yield from him to Deborah and close out with Adam, who'll go a little more detail with the housing. Chad?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Good evening, Council. So currently with debris, we are at approximately 95% on that first pass. We've heard this first pass, second pass going through. I know a lot of y'all, I speak to a majority of y'all probably on a daily basis with different complaints that you get. A lot of our residents aren't understanding how this process goes. This is not your twice a week garbage service. When a pass happens through a neighborhood, then it moves to the next neighborhood, to the next neighborhood, to the next neighborhood throughout the entire city. Once that happens, then it starts again. And we also are going to ramp up more. So that 95% of pass one, we're at 118,905.4 cubic yards of vegetative debris that's been picked up. That's a lot. We also have over 4,300 trees that have been trimmed and cut down throughout the city. As I said, 95% on that pass one. We will be starting pass two and picking up C and D. A lot of these calls that y'all are getting and our call center are getting is, why aren't my fence boards being picked up? Fence boards are C and D, and that will be picked up in the second pass. Fence boards, sheetrock, sofas, carpet, you name it, anything you bring out of your house is considered, it falls under the C and D. So we will start picking that up with the second pass of vegetation. So you'll start seeing that happening very, very soon. IV Waste is still running and picking up our actual municipal garbage. Mr. Torres and I spoke a little while ago. They're still running and gunning on that, doing very good with that. They're also helping pick up with some of the big piles of bags. The resident drop site in the back that Mr. Torres put in has been a huge hit. 60, 70 people a day going through there before. Where before we were seeing 12 to 13 on a weekend only. We're talking 7 days a week. We're still running 60 to 70 people coming through there. So we're taking a lot of garbage off the street. Look, the residents that want to come in and help us at the drop site, God love you. We need all the help that we can get. Obviously, it's not the mandate, it's the option. So just know it's there 9 to 3 Monday, 7 days a week, sorry. 7 days a week, 9 to 3. If not, we're going to be around to get it, I assure you. It's a process. And that's all I have on debris.
Councilwoman McKinney?
Yes, thank you. Thank you for, I know, we get, that's the most, the things that I get the questions about most is, I have a lot of stuff in my yard. I can't fix, when are they going to pick it up? They haven't been in my neighborhood at all. I haven't seen my neighborhood. I guess one of my questions is for C&D, and what is C&D? Construction and?
Demolition?
Demolition, right.
So normally in the past was, and I'll tell you a little bit of a hiccup with that. In the past, it was normally the fence boards, the sheetrock, and so forth. We're seeing a lot of carpet from people that have had roof damage. Carpet previously was not listed as C&D. Mattresses were previously not allowed into C&D. The Department of Environmental Quality with this and the state together recently did an amendment last week allowing that to be included as C&D. So we were waiting for that amendment. We knew it was coming, because if not, we were going to have to start picking through piles in order to get the stuff. So yeah, so thankful that DEQ and the state came through for us to help in this process.
Okay, great, and I appreciate that. One question is, earlier this week, I saw that you guys were going to start picking up, that it was posted that you guys were starting to picking up C&D. Has that started yet? But
We're on day 3 of rain, Councilwoman. Unfortunately,
Okay,
the
okay,
rain's
so
not
the rain.
cooperating with us, so we're trying to get it as soon as we can. So as soon as the weather
What the
can
plan
cooperate,
was.
we can get that up. The plan was absolutely to have it running by Wednesday or Thursday.
Okay.
We're having to expand our footprint in order to take it at our debris management site in the back of the Pontchartrain Center. Just taking us a little bit long because of the rain and the weather that's coming through.
Okay, great. And so you guys are actually picking them up, and then where's everything going? I guess my question. Are you
So
guys
our
bringing-
DMS, which is our debris management site, is at the back of the Pontchartrain Center currently.
Okay. So, okay, and you said 43 trees were cut and trimmed?
4,300.
4,300, right, okay, 4,300, that's slightly more
Just
than
a few.
43. My only other question is, I know they have been posting how much you guys have been picking up daily, I think, and residents have asked, having a daily update or cut, of how much has been collected. I think that would help residents understand what the magnitude is, because, a lot of people, all they see is their street, and if nothing moves, then it doesn't, in their mind, nothing's being picked up, right? So when they hear other things, when they see what's being picked up and what the magnitude is, I think that would make a difference. So it's like a daily or,
Well, that's what we have been doing, and unfortunately,
Okay.
we're getting about 50%. Not going to have Kenner Media can update us on that. We're getting a lot of negative complaints on it as well, because look, at the end of the day, all the calls that you're getting and all the calls that we're getting, it's not about what's happening in my neighborhood, it's not what's happening in my city, it's what's happening right in front of my door. They're only concerned with what's in the front of the door, and I get it. But people need to realize that the magnitude of this storm and the devastation and damage that our city took. I realize your debris in your front yard may still be sitting there. I assure you we will get to it. We're not leaving it there. But we just need patience, a lot of patience. So yes, I agree. Look, we thought it was a great idea to start posting the daily numbers, and then we start getting negative comments about they don't care what the daily numbers are. They just want the stuff in front of their house picked up.
well, thank you.
Can I just, go ahead, Sal.
Yep.
Let me just add to that too. Like, he's right. So we went, I think, to 3 days a week, 2 days a week, something like that, to give a general update. But if you take time to look at Jefferson Parish's website, particularly Ricky Template and Scott Walker's, same comments in unincorporated Jefferson Parish. Having been there in unincorporated Jefferson Parish, going through, I think it was Isaac at the time, same situation. I get it. City of New Orleans, totally different animal, I get it, but they're still getting complaints too. So keeping the people updated is absolutely our job. We will continue to do that. I think we're doing it 2 or 3 days a week, some formula like that, some schedule like that. But we're not the only one. Kent is not unique. And I saw a resident's post today that their debris was not picked up today and it's been 30 days. Well, yeah, okay, they want to compare it to Katrina. Please don't insult us and compare it to Katrina. Most people were not allowed back or did not come back for 1 month. So when you came back after 30 days, yeah, it probably looked a little bit better. And today at the 30th or 31st day, whatever today is, looks a little bit better. Looks a little better than it did that first day. So I know that our monitor, our debris collector has done an awesome job, but there's more work to be done. And I'm gonna take y'all back a month, probably that first week. What did I say when Ceres came and talked to y'all at the Mert Center? How many months, guys? Does anybody remember that? Because I do. 2 months at least, possibly 2.5 to 3. So this is not a culture shock to anybody sitting in this room that was in that meeting, and I think most of y'all were. So we all knew it was going to be at least 2 months. So we're a little bit over 30 days, and thank you, Chad. Thank you to your team. Thank you to everybody sitting in Sodomy and also behind me and throughout this room for what they've done. So I thank also the residents for their patience, because I think it's like, correct me if I'm wrong, 25 people complaining on Facebook, and I might be over-exaggerating that by 24.
20%.
We have 70,000 residents. I like those numbers. I think the general public is happy with what we're doing. And what y'all are doing also, take credit for it, because y'all have worked with us. If y'all call for something that it's blocking the street, Tom, you called on one not too long ago in District 4. I believe it was blocking the street. What happened? We got it up. I called myself today because I got a personal message on Facebook. I called Chad. I said, here it is in your district, George, and we're going to pick it up because it's blocking the street. So y'all are helping with that. So take credit for what we're doing. And I appreciate y'all's support. And most of all, I appreciate the support of the public for those people that understand, 70,000 residents that understand minus 25.
And one thing I'll take off of that too is because I'll take every second, every minute, every day that we can get. It may have been 30 days since the storm, but we're on day 27 of debris pickup. So give me those 3 days back.
Councilwoman, you finished? Councilman Brannigan.
Chad, I just got a couple of questions, things that have been that they have hit me with. One, do we have the ability to tell a neighborhood when the trucks are going to be in their neighborhood?
So no, because that changes during the day. And the way that this goes is they have advanced scouts that go out through the monitoring company, and they'll find the areas that have the heavy debris. They will send a truck in there. Once they load out, they'll go back to the drop site, the debris management site, and they basically have a list from that day. It may jump all the way around on a daily, on a daily route. A truck may be in, and look, these people aren't from here. They have no idea what districts is what, right? But I'm just going to use districts to tell you. But I have actually followed trucks through a day that have gone from District 5 to District 1 to District 2 to District 3. So just they are going wherever the debris is, and they get their next load ticket. Here's their job. Go to 25th and Illinois and pick up all the debris around there until you fill up your truck. Once you fill up your truck, come back, unload. We're going to give you another area. So that's how this is running.
Okay. I've had people tell me that they see the truck going down the street and they pick up one house and then they skip 3 houses and they got, vegetation debris, because that's what we've been picking up for the last 30 days. And they want to know, why do they skip those piles and go to the next house? They think it makes sense, and I think it makes sense that if you're going down the street with this truck burning fuel, they should be picking every pile of the vegetation debris that they run into.
Those would have to be case by case, where we'd have to actually look at it and see, make sure there's no contaminants in it or anything.
Okay. And I tell you, a couple of the piles I went and looked at, and they did have shingles in it, mixed in it, and I told them, and I said, look, they're not picking this up right now. That's the next wave that's coming, the second
Correct.
wave.
Once it's commingled, it's going to jump into a different category.
Okay, well, when you start picking up this construction debris, where are we dumping that? Behind the Pontchartrain?
So we're expanded our footprint. I just got approval from DEQ on yesterday to expand. We're going to take the eastern half of the parking lot. So
Okay.
currently, there is a temporary fence up for some mitigation efforts going on at the Pontchartrain Center. So from that temporary fence, which is about the midline of the parking lot, to the back where everybody always knew where the gun show trailer used to be, we're taking all of that, and that is now going to be the C&D drop yard. So it's going to be attached to the vegetative debris site, but it's going to be where C&D is going to go, because it's processed different, right? Vegetative debris goes through a chipper. C&D gets rolled over by a bulldozer. So definitely don't go meandering through the C&D site.
Well, the chipper pile is pretty high, or was a couple of days ago. Tree falls on a house. It's between the owner and the insurance company, and it doesn't matter where the tree is, because I have several trees that have fallen in District 4, giant oak trees on houses that were in between the sidewalk and the street. And I've been telling the residents that it's between them and their insurance company in that situation. If the tree falls into the street, then the city has been going and taking the trees out, piling the stuff up so that, the street is open.
The city can't go on private property. We're not going to go on private property and get involved in property damage and so forth, whether we cause more damage cutting a tree. Let the insurance company handle that. If they have any issues, tell them to call us.
Okay, and then any trees in the backyards are 100% the responsibility of the homeowner, because, again, we would be on their property.
Correct, and now would be the time, if they do want to get those cut, put them on the curb, it'll be included in this program. What we don't want to have happen is 8 months down the line, you get to that tree, and all of a sudden, we start getting all these trees
Right.
lined up on the curb when we don't have these debris companies here, and now it's back on Mr. Torres.
Okay.
And that's, we had that happen after Zeta, where people delayed so long. We ask you to please get that work done now, get it out so we can include it in this project.
Okay. Last meeting, the debris collector said they had 30 trucks out there. We're adding 4 more trucks. Are we putting, if they're doing the debris by the large piles first, that doesn't, are they putting like 6 or 7 trucks in each district? Or could we have 30 trucks in one district?
They don't, like I said, Councilman, they don't know districts.
Okay. They just get a map
All
of-
citywide. They look at it, they have scouts that go around and say, hey, 18th and Moisant has a pile here and has a bunch of piles around, put that as a hot spot. So they put that on their list. So the next truck that comes out, go to that area. And then somebody else is riding around and says, hey, 32nd in California has a hot spot. So then the following truck goes there and fills up from there.
Okay, and I had one resident that had a tree fall, big tree, and he was in his front yard, and some guys came by, said they were from FEMA, and they were gonna cut his tree apart. It was on his property, they cut the tree, they piled it all out in the street, and our trucks picked it up, well, the debris collector picked it up. Do we have a contact with FEMA to be able to do the same thing for other locations? Because
So first off, if anybody's telling you they're there from FEMA to cut your tree, I would be very suspicious.
It was free. They didn't charge the guy.
FEMA is a financial, FEMA is a financial institution. They don't have boots on the ground out here cutting trees.
Have you heard of any boots on the ground that are cutting trees down?
Only
for
boots
free?
on the ground from FEMA I've been aware of is our door-to-door people signing people up for assistance.
Okay, so there's no tree cutting people cutting trees down for free in the city?
So there were some religious, faith-based groups that were out here doing it. Different
Okay.
faith-based religious groups were cutting it, but that's all I'm aware of, and they
I'm
were
trying to track-
assisting residents.
I'm trying to track them down because I got a couple of big oak trees that need to be cut.
That was Freema.
Freeman?
Freeman.
Oh, okay, okay, I'm good.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chad.
Councilman Carroll?
Thank you, Mr. President. Thank you, Mr. Pitfield. At the last meeting, I had asked about getting a copy of a map or something, and you said, and we said we all knew the computer was down because we could not communicate. The computers are back up now, so we should be able to get a demographic, a picture of the city of Kenner and what has been done. And
We're
I guess
we're still working on some of that, Councilman. We're not 100% up on the external network. Not all the network is completely up. We had a delay in getting the entire system scanned. So we're still getting some of that stood up. What I currently have is my management side only. I don't have anything for the public at this point.
So
And not saying y'all are public, But what I see is typical, specific information on a truck, stuff that doesn't need to go out. So we're still working on that map getting set up that we could show something what you're asking for.
So, when you said earlier that we're complete one cycle of the vegetation in the city,
We're about 95% in
95.
in the first pass.
and we're getting ready to start
Second pass, and
second
C&D.
pass. Right, so if you say you don't have the complete computer system up, I would like to get a copy of a map, and you also said that when they go out each day, it's based on the priority when they get it done. So after the day, I would like to see what they did per day.
Right, and that's what I'm trying to tell you, is what I have is a management side software that is not what you're looking for. We're still working on getting that stood up on our side with the network coming back on. So once that is available, we'll definitely get it to you.
So could we not use a copy of the map of the city, because they may not know districts, but we know districts, to be able to highlight the areas that were completed by district?
And who's gonna do that?
After it's completed, to get it from your department, from somebody to say.
Yes,
"We
as
did
soon as
this."
we get that map set up that we can get out to you, you'll have all that.
No,
on.
I'm not asking for a computer route. I'm talking about a map that we have of the city right now.
There's no way, I don't have the personnel, councilman, to have somebody sit there and highlight streets. It's not possible at this point.
Well, not possible. I don't think you should use the term "not possible." I think
It's not possible at this point.
It could be possible, but also, when we use the term cubic feet, I know that sounds
Cubic yards.
cubic yard, it sounds like a lot, but most people, and the reason why I say what I said before, most people in Kenner, the United States, are not that, acute with the metric system. We don't use the metric system. So cubic feet means nothing to me or anybody else. We understand pounds, we understand feet, we understand
Cubic
inches.
because it's a volume.
I understand that.
Right.
I'm saying most people don't relate to that, understand that, because they have never used that in their day-to-day life measuring things. They don't use the metric system. So when we say that, it doesn't mean a lot to some people. What I've heard people say, well, all of it could have came from one street. It doesn't say where it has been collected around the city. It just gives the quantity. It doesn't say where.
Well, I think if you ride around the city, you'll clearly see the city is in a heck of a lot better position than we were about 3 weeks ago. So I think,
It is, and I'm not disputing that. And I know there are going to always be people who say, it's not going fast enough. That's a fact.
Right.
But I'm saying people don't understand the cubic yards when they say it's picked up. They understand what they see. They understand what they're told. We started here, we're doing there. So I'm saying that is more important to people to know where it started, what the plan is to start here, to go through this sequence, and at the end of the month, we are intending to have completed all of this area. That is more important to the people that I talk to know that, as
well, it
opposed
depends.
to.
I think and I'll go back to what you said at the last council meeting, we have 3 groups of people, right? People that stayed, people that stayed and left, and people that haven't come back yet.
Right.
So if we stick to a particular neighborhood where a lot of people haven't come back yet, we're not maximizing our resources. We need to go where the people are and where the people are bringing the stuff out. That's the reason why we're jumping around.
Yeah, I'm not asking or not debating, said the plan that you have is a good plan. I'm saying after it is completed, to be
Right.
able to see what we have completed.
Absolutely.
That's what I'm worried about.
I'm hoping over the next couple of days to have that map you're looking for.
Okay, so that is what I'm
Just at the
looking to
current
see.
time, I'm just telling you, we're 5 a.m. to midnight every day, Councilman. If you try to throw on me highlighting the street at the end of the day, I can't guarantee you what you're gonna get.
I don't want to do anything that's going to put any of the guys who are actually boots on the ground doing it to do anything more. But hopefully within a week, we should be able to get that.
We're working diligently on it.
And since we are getting ready to start the second pass for the vegetation, the next pass will be for both groups, or white goods, and
So
the
white
other?
goods will be in the following group.
It'll be together or just one?
So it's gonna be second pass of vegetation and C and D.
And C and D.
Correct.
Okay,
And then we'll hopefully go third pass, C and D second pass, and white goods.
Right, because for some of the people defense that were here early, the day after the storm, they didn't know they had to separate A, B, and C. they just put it all in one pile.
Right. and
Which
that's-
means it's gonna be at their home longer because now they're looking at picking it up based on the A, B, and C. So, I don't want anybody to think a lot of people did it on purpose. A lot of people just didn't know that that was gonna be required, so.
Well,
in
knock on
effect-
wood, we had to deal with this 16 years ago, right? We don't want to deal with it any more than that.
That's exactly right. So the biggest thing, like I said, is to get that map, because for myself and all of us, people want to know, where have they done it? Are they doing it within our neighborhood? Because like you say, people want to know what's in front of their house. But for us, we have 7,000 houses that we are responsible, and if we add it all up together, it equals 70,000. So if we all get a good view and a picture of that, it helps the city overall to be able to answer questions. So that is what I believe when we get this information that the system will be able to provide will be more beneficial, and it probably going to help people to understand the volume that's getting done, even if it's not in front of their house. So I think that is important, and I look forward to getting that particular picture. Maybe it's me, or maybe it's a lot of people I know who think like that, but for me personally, a picture to me is more than cubic yards or, pounds like that. So I look forward to the next time. Hopefully we have that information. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Councilman. Mayor Zahn?
Yeah, let me paint this picture for the public. So 113,000 cubic yards was just given to me, is 5 football fields, and before you ask how tall, up to the goalpost, 10 feet high. So I think that paints a picture for our constituents.
It paints a picture, Mayor, in here for everybody who's listening to that. There's 60 other thousand people who are not going to hear that, and they're going to ask again.
We'll post that. I think we
Yeah.
can get that out tomorrow, but I'm just saying, if anybody in this room has a question, 5 football fields.
That might help. That might
Yeah.
help. That
Oh, it will.
picture
It'll
might
help.
help more than just mentioning the
Right.
quantity. So
Right.
let's
No,
try
Right,
that.
I think if that doesn't help, then I can't help you.
Well-
Because 5 football fields, that's a lot of debris.
That'll
That's a
that'll
lot of
give us-
debris, that's
that'll
all I
give-
gotta say.
That'll give us a quantity.
Yeah.
It'll help for some people.
It
For-
gives us a good
so,
gauge.
That will help. So that's just one more thing to help besides getting the map to show where everything is coming together at. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. President.
Mayor, you have another?
I want to say this, if the public, this is for everyone, and we're going to put this on TV, obviously, because it's being filmed, but if the public wants to kind of get in this area over here and stay 6 feet apart, that'd be great to see this video that Deborah has to show, a slideshow.
What the mayor just suggested, if anybody in the audience would like to come up front around here so you can see
6
the
feet
actual
apart.
screen, you're more than welcome to come stand up here.
Stacy, you want to come up, because you're be filming the back of the TV. Okay, you're in a good spot there? Okay, great. All right, anybody else who wants to come up? Because I apologize, we are sort of low-tech today as we're growing into our space. So what I've learned, and I'm sure people before us knew that, but as we've gone out and assessed buildings, we found more buildings. And as we found more buildings, we find more huts, and we find more shops, and we are at this point up to the assessment of 65 structures. Now, those 65 structures, are as small as one of the huts over in the yard, and as large as the Pontchartrain Center. But each one of those went through a separate assessment. The process is for the city buildings: assess, stabilize, then mitigate, and then repair. So assess is, how damaged is it? Is it completely gone? Is it something that we need to be looking at, or is it too late? Stabilize is, you've seen a lot of the blue tarps have gone out, a lot of different measures have been taken for stabilization. That's just to keep it from getting worse. That's to keep the elements from getting into the building. For the most part, all of our buildings have been tarped. There are a few of them that the buildings were so damaged that the cost to stabilize and mitigate was going to exceed the cost
of a new roof. So we went ahead and pulled the trigger on that in the hopes that we'll be reimbursed, because we know if we do the stabilization, mitigation, repair order, we will be reimbursed, but it makes no sense to pay more money on stabilization and on mitigation, only to turn back around and pay less than that to repair the building itself. So, citywide, all preliminary damage assessments are done. All buildings that warranted stabilization have been stabilized and tarped all the roofs that it made sense to do so. Our biggest mitigation challenge is the Pontchartrain Center. It has the most damage for purposes, financially, for the purposes of mitigation. The prices or the cost between our consultants and the insurance company, it ranges between $4 and $5 million just for mitigation for the Pontchartrain Center. And part of it is the size, part of it is the type of the damage, because the roof rolled back in places. The contractors have focused on this as a priority, because obviously this is a structure the city has that is in commerce, and the longer we keep it out of commerce, the longer it is before we can attempt to recoup any funds. So the mitigation plan has that one coming back online at the end of November. Now, it will not be completely built out. It will be mitigated and roughed in, so it can be used. I need to see what this looks like. It's been described to me. It's basically sheetrock, but not finished. They might not be taped. They just might be up, but it's usable. It might not be usable, say, for a Mardi Gras ball, but it's certainly usable for a sporting event. So we'll get a look on that. But as a consequence, Pontchartrain Center is going to be out of commission at least through the end of November. Then the other three that I want to talk about today, because these are really the priorities, are the A, B, and C, the City Hall complex. I don't think we're going back. If we go back, it's going to be because we've rebuilt. Because these buildings themselves, based upon the cost to repair, far exceed the value of the insurance and far exceed the value of the buildings themselves. If I can pull up A, please. All right, so this is A. You can see this is the front. This is building B behind us. So this is part of the roof on building A. Chillers and everything got ripped up and thrown around. This is inside. This is the hall between court and the old finance office, which is now being occupied by code enforcement. One more. All right. This is part of the building A where we were actually doing the renovations, but what this is meant to show is like, this is daylight over here. Like there's the sunshine is coming in on this side. This roof picked up in the front. Everything came in, and then the roof went back down. The assessment of repair on that building is $2.9 million. Mitigation is $902,000. Hardening, and we'll be talking about this on all the buildings, if we rebuild the building, the additional amount that we will have to put in to bring it up to code and also to make it hurricane resistant. Hardening on building A is $650,000, and we're still talking about the damage, and contents is $478,000. So the total loss on building A is $4.9 million. That's the combined loss, including contents. $4.9 million loss. We have a combined coverage of $3.6 million. So we're 1.3 short in terms of our insurance coverage on this to be able to completely repair it. In addition, because it's a named storm, we have a 5% named storm deductible. So our deductible on that building is $180,000. So that's added basically to the cost to us. All right, building B. Okay, this I think is council. That's council floor, yes, because of the wood paneling. That's the council floor. And one more. And that is the roof after some patching. And of course this is, well, that's the absence of a roof. If y'all went out there, you remember what we saw was the roof literally came off and wrapped around the Greenwall building. And this is the hatch that was open, and a lot of, it flew off. A lot of water came down through the second floor supply room into the second floor and then ran down into the first floor. So a lot of damage came through that building. B, the estimate for repair on building B is $3.7 million. The mitigation is $671,000. The hardening, again, to be able to build it back to code is $450,000, and the contents is $420,000. So we have 5.3 combined loss on building B. We have 3.1 combined coverage on building B, and again, a 5% deductible of $155,000. All right, our problem child, Building C. All right, so Building C got hit by Zeta. And y'all probably remember that. We made a big claim on Zeta. And a lot of this got put back, and then afterwards, we now have an IDA claim, and they've not paid on Zeta. So it is the same insurer, and the position that we are taking through outside counsel on this is it's either Zeta or it's IDA. We don't know which one it is, but it's all your money. The challenge for us, though, is you have to pay 2 deductibles because it's 2 named storm. So C was our worst building before this whole thing started. This is the building I think y'all remember we were moving IT off of the 4th floor into the 2nd floor B because it was raining in the building. Now C has become our best building. We have some video of both before the storm and some pictures after the storm. This is just a little wind outside, and that's the sound in the windows. And I am told by the people who have worked there that that's basically a little wind, and it makes those sounds all the time. The seals around all those buildings, all those windows are blown from Zeta, and they had been repaired before. So prior, the seals had blown previously, and the wind and the water came in. They did not get fixed after Zeta because we were still waiting for the insurance proceeds. All right, and then the next day, this is what they found when they got to the office. Basically, that's standing water on the 1st floor of Building C. So Zeta, we will not get full coverage from IDA, nor are we going to get a full complete claim from Zeta for Building C. But what we're hoping is between the two that we'll be able to develop some level of coverage. Combined Zeta and IDA damage, $3.1 million for repair, $452,000 for mitigation, $450,000 for hardening. Unknown contents. They haven't completed the contents survey at this point, so we don't know what the contents damage is. The other 2 buildings were in the $400,000 to $500,000 range, and I suspect there's about that same amount of contents. Also, it depends upon if there's any additional damage to the IT infrastructure. So the combined loss is $4,049,000. Combined coverage, good news, $4.2 million. But we have 2 deductibles of $404,000 total, so we're back down to having less recovery than we have damage. So at this point, again, this is the assess and stabilize and mitigate. This is not the build back, because insurance isn't everything. We have insurance, then we have potential to recover from FEMA, and then we look at any grant funding that's out there. But before we get there, that's all of us, that's the mayor, that's the council, have to decide where we're going, because whether we want to build a whole new building that is more efficient, more structurally sound, withholds a hurricane, whatever, at City Hall campus. If all 3 of those buildings come down, we have plenty of space. We can actually create build a better mousetrap there for something that could withstand that. We're still a couple years away, right? If we repair these, we've been told A and B we should not even attempt. C we could possibly attempt, but it had so many problems before. We're going to have to talk to some engineers about that. Again, repairing, we are 2 years away. So we have a temporary plan. We have a temporary challenge, and then we have a permanent challenge. At this point, because we do not know the total amount of funds that will be available to us to collectively decide how we want to go forward, what we really know right now is that we're in the period where FEMA is reimbursing us for temporary stabilization, temporary housing, everything temporary. So we can talk to you about what we're doing temporarily. We can talk to you about what we're doing here. We can talk to you about what we've looked at for other places. Is there any place else? Is Macy's the only place? So Adam's going to come up right now and kind of talk about the process we went through to figure out where we're going to go now, how long it's going to take, what are the alternatives, initial prices. Like if we've got trailers, for instance, if we've got office trailers, how many of those we would need, how long it would take, where we could put them, that sort of thing. So again, I'm happy to answer any questions about the condition, and then Adam can get into the temporary.
Can you take a question at this point?
Of course.
Yeah. Councilwoman McKinney.
Yes, thank you, Ms. Foshi. I guess my question is not about the condition, but about the estimates and all of that, the backup documentation. Is there any way that you can email all of that information, so we have that in writing, and we can, and also where the estimates came from, and all, all of that backup documentation for us.
So our outside counsel handling these claims for us is Dominic Impastato. I will reach out to him and make sure that there's no reason that we would not want that to be made public, and if he says fine, it's all yours.
Okay, I mean, yeah.
Anybody else?
No, ma'am.
Okay.
So the reason I brought this whiteboard in is this is what I've been working from. I got tasked early on with some short-term solutions for a couple of major problems that we had, A, B, C, housing, and how do we pass out food, water, ice, those items. I got a call from Ronnie Maines, CRC, early on during this event, and he said, I have supplies. We need a place both to store them that's not necessarily air-conditioned, but out of the elements, and we need a big enough place to put them. And I got tasked by the administration with finding a place for essential city services and everybody that was displaced by the loss of buildings A, B, and C, and recreation, to find a place for everywhere to go. So the basic layout of this, just to explain it, the top row is all of the factors that affect the decision-making, so time, space, the availability, and the cost. And then these are all of the options that we looked at. And there were other things that were floated out there, but these are the ones that we gave serious consideration to. And so just taking you through the list on this, City Hall A, B, and C was affected by time because of the extensive damage. It's, insurers and adjusters hadn't even gone through those buildings. Space and availability, of course, are affected the same way, and because no one had gone through, we had no information available on the cost of that. But we did know that the damage was extensive just from eyeballing it. City buildings that we own that are not A, B, and C, which included the major buildings, which would be the Pontchartrain Center, Building D, and all of the gyms. So by time, we had damage at the Pontchartrain Center, as everybody knows. We had damage at every gym, as everybody knows. And we actually filled up Building D. We moved additional departments there. We moved a phone bank there. We had already moved Kenner Television there prior to the storm. We've moved audit there and HR there as well. And we were doing food distribution for employees out of this building as well. So obviously, space availability and costs were affected by all of those things as well. The next thing that we did was we looked into rental commercial properties, and we had Linda Nugent-Smith help us with that, so a bit of a shout out for her. They were available. They were empty. We found spaces that did not need massive amounts of repair. The space that we need for what was displaced is approximately 70,000 square feet, and we found 3 to 4 locations through Linda that do not total 70,000 square feet. So the space was an issue there. Obviously, as I said, they were available. And then the cost on them we didn't think would be prohibitive because the market rate per square foot is not going to be prohibitive for us. Cost at multiple buildings for infrastructure we did think could be an issue. I tend to look at things from an IT perspective, but even just on access control, if you have 3 to 4 different buildings across town, connectivity, access control for the doors, you have to duplicate all of those services at those buildings. So then the next thing we did was I reached out to Justin from CRC, and we said, well, what about trailers? Can we fit in trailers? And this was an exercise we were familiar with because when we had our mold issue at Building A, I had also reached out to Justin and said, what do you think about the idea of getting trailers where we can have council meetings in these trailers during COVID? And we had put together some information back then on that, and it was prohibitive then, not just for cost, but also for where do you put something of that size. So we kind of ran into the same problems with that, plus time was an issue because during a regional storm like this, when there's so much damaged property, a lot of people are tending to find trailers, so finding them can be difficult. Shipping, same thing with availability. Space, I mean, that's not really an issue. You can get as many trailers as you want to get and put as many people as you want to get them if they're available to get. We did not have an initial cost on this. We got the cost on it today. And the cost on trailers would have been $2 million up front, $200,000 monthly. That would not include build-out setup, duplicating IT services, some of the same problems that we looked at with the rental and commercial. And the last thing that we were looking at was Macy's. We had looked at this building in the past. We had a lot of information about it. We had plans on it. Time was not an issue. The building is was empty, or was empty. The space is not an issue because it's roughly 93,000 to 94,000 per floor on 2 floors, and then it gets a little bit smaller on a 3rd floor. And our need only being 70,000 square feet. And the cost, again, we didn't think would be prohibitive because per square foot, that's, not something that's prohibitive for us. In conjunction with that, I got asked to look at housing. And because we had the available space here, we were actually able to put some of the housing here. We started out with 50 essential workers that needed housing. HR identified that needed a place to go in order to return to work. That number, some people since then have found places to go, but we have 7 that have gone into hotels right now. We have some trailers that are being delivered that are 10 by 10 rooms that will be housed in the parking lot here. And then we have the Yurt Village, or Yurtville as we call it, behind us, which is sort of like larger tents that can house some of these essential workers as well. And that is my presentation. If you have any questions.
Councilman Carroll?
Thank you, Mr. President, and thank you, Mr. Campbell, for your presentation. And, obviously, each time that we meet, we learn different things about different buildings. Obviously, in a perfect world, we would want to be back into the City Hall building or any building that would be in the city of Kenner. My personal opinion, and it's just my personal opinion, while, Mr. Chet, someone said earlier that, we can't go on private property. Well, we're on private property right now, so what I'm saying is we are here now. The cost, we don't know what, and like I said last week, there will be a cost. What that cost will be, we don't know. When we're trying to do stuff, we have to make a decision early on, and, supporting the council president for our next 3 meetings, it should be, it was decided to be here. I'm fine with that. I just think there should be some effort for us to put into try to repair at least some city building that we can fix and bring, if not everything, some things into a city building. Maybe the council meeting, maybe our offices. I do know that for me, District 1, to be able to come here for my council office is just not conducive for the people I represent to come here. I need to find a more central location, even if it means sharing space with a building closer that where we are in right now. So I would be more open to that, and to be able to look at buildings that we own to try to get them, maybe they won't be in 100%, but something, as opposed to not paying a fee for someone else's building. I have a concern about that. So that's just my personal opinion. And we should look at everything, but I think there should be some effort maybe to look into that as well.
I do want to stress, too, again, that this was only short-term options that I was tasked with looking at. This was not a long-term vision of where we were going to be. We just needed to return city services
2-3
to
months, something like that, short-term.
Yeah, we had immediate needs. I mean, even the council themselves met, and we all wanted to get council meetings rolling again. We had issues with people that wanted to get permits from code enforcement so they could repair their properties and their houses. And we have to get court rolling again. I mean, we have to get cases rolling for domestic violence and things like that. So I was only tasked with a short-term solution for those things.
Yeah, I think you did a good job. I think that's obvious. We had to get things going. We could not wait around.
Right.
But I think, an added for myself is to look at the possibility of putting some effort into something that we have to maybe be able to bring some functions at a building that we have. It may be, 40% disturbed, and we may be able to bring it up to speed where it's conducive with water, light, and safety, always. So never want to go against safety, but something to that effect.
If I get tasked with long-term solutions and Deborah clears buildings, that'd be something we'd look at.
Currently, if I could, the following buildings are cleared. We have a mobile home on Duke Street, I believe that's the fire department, skateboard park, I think it's an exterior building, the Lake Town Pier, the boat launch shelter, the tire shop and storage for fleet, the burnout house, council on aging, Wentwood concession stand, Plant 3 clarifier, Plant 3 expansion, and Plant 3 headworks. Those are clear. We anticipate that the Rivertown theaters will be clear in 3 weeks. The the pavilion is going to be clear in 2.
After that, the first mitigation timeline I have is for the Pontchartrain Center, which should be complete by the end of November.
What about, Ms. Fosher, what about the Public Works building?
Building D is completely full right now. We moved people out of, who we moved there?
We, into that building, we had already moved Kenner Television prior to the storm, but we moved audit into that building, and there's a centralized phone bank that runs out of that building. And it is the EOC as well.
Right, so there's a security risk in bringing outside into the EOC, I understand that. But in terms of physical space, that's where we've moved everybody when we were in the process of taking people out of Building C, because we knew they had to come out. This is before the storm. We took people out and stuffed them into Building D. So that is really where our Building D, the trailer over at the Fleet Yard, and then here. So Fleet Yard and Building D got filled up first before we started looking outside that space.
COVID as well.
And what?
There's COVID concerns.
Well, and COVID too, that's right. We still have protocols that we have to deal with. So there's a level
Yeah.
beyond which we can't stuff people in there.
And, I guess what I say was twofold for larger scale people and smaller scale for myself and Kelly to find a spot closer to the original City Hall as opposed to here. That's something. Don't have to be a lot.
Put him in D? Okay. Okay, well, and maybe we can.
Yeah, we
look
can
at
talk
moving
about this
audit.
after
Sure,
what you,
We
but,
can
Let me
move
say
somebody
publicly,
out
though,
and-
I have no problem getting a location for you and Kelly
Mhm.
in your district in the EOC. It'll be limited to who, Kelly might need to walk into the lobby because there's a security
Most
risk
definitely.
for anybody, not.
For
there's a
anybody.
security risk for anybody going into the EOC, but I will look at building something out there.
yeah, and listen, COVID is still real, so we
I
are,
I understand your
acute of that
request.
too. So that is number one, well, not above safety, but obviously that is something we're never gonna walk away from, particularly right now. So that would be helpful
I
for
have no
us. So
problem doing
we
that.
can,
I
we
just
can
can't
talk.
hold council meetings with bringing the public into the EOC.
Yeah, like I said,
But for a councilman or for anybody, look, I mean, if another councilman wants one there, that's fine, but I mean, there's only so much room. So let me deal with Councilman Carroll first, and then we'll go from there.
yeah, okay, thank you, Mayor.
No problem.
And Mayor, there might be a way that, I guess, maybe they could do some rotation. And I know, that way you don't have to have all the assistants there, but a rotation through, and it would be very helpful.
Right, and as always, that's up to the council.
Yeah, I'm open to that. I'm
Yeah,
not-
y'all don't work
your
obviously,
okay.
so-
I'm open with that, yeah.
And tomorrow, if y'all join the tour, which I hope each and every one of you all do, you'll see that there could be a rotation here too, or whatever you want to do here. But that might be something you want to look at.
And I would like to say, and I agree with Councilman Carroll, some of his comments that he made regarding some of the facilities that we currently own. And it would be nice to see, and I haven't heard this said, maybe one of the buildings that might be in bad shape, there might be something that could be carved out and a portion of the building still be utilized by hanging this queen and separating
Yeah,
it or
that's-
something to that effect. I'm just
Yeah,
throwing it
and-
out there.
And I understand that, but remember this, you have demolition of the properties. There were buildings that Deborah Foshee was very clear with will come down.
Well,
So I'm not going to commit, I'm going to commit to one thing tonight, finding Councilman Carroll an office in District 1. I'm not going to commit any further than that.
And I'm not asking for a commitment, but I've just wanted to make comment, food for thought, because there's a potential, some of the buildings, and I'm not saying the ones that need demolition. I'm saying there might be, please just keep in mind as these
understand.
assessments are being done, could there be
understand.
a area carved out
Right.
and maybe visqueen so for protection and so forth, so it would be okay for council meetings and the public to attend.
We will explore every option.
Thank
The
you, Mayor.
commitment tonight is to Councilman Carroll,
All
but
right.
I will explore the other options.
Yeah, loud and clear. Thank you,
Thank you.
Mayor. Anybody else have questions? Councilman Brannigan.
How many square feet do we need for City Hall?
For all of the buildings, plus recreation, we were looking at approximately 70,000 square feet. Yeah.
I can refine that a hair. It's 58,000 for buildings A, B, and C. It's 58,000. Recreation, administration, and programming sufficient to do what we were doing at the mall is 14,000. So it's 72 combined.
And Mayor, just to recap, and you made comment that you were going to attempt to agree to work with Councilman Carroll, but that's also the council too, maybe doing a rotation through there, is that correct?
Yeah, that's gonna be up to you all.
Okay.
Y'all would have to, why don't you and I get together, Tom, and figure out how you'd want to do that? Could we do that after you do the tour tomorrow, so you can see how you want to do the rotation?
Perfect.
Because as two at-larges, I would think that y'all would want to be in South Canada and North Canada
Okay.
on a rotation, correct? Right.
Very possible.
I mean, look,
I haven't.
Greg
discussed it.
represents District 1. I understand that. You all, like me, represent the whole city. I don't think you just want to be in one part of the city. So let's tour tomorrow, and let's talk tomorrow afternoon. Is that okay?
Perfect. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you.
Anybody else?
Deborah,
Councilman Carroll.
Deborah,
Brannigan.
Deborah, on that square foot, what did you say the mall spot was?
The mall spot? Oh, recreation, combining recreation programming and the administration, which we have another location. Putting that all together is 14,000.
I thought we moved recreation out of there, though.
We didn't get it out?
We were in the process of doing that, and that gym has some storm-related issues as well.
So we can't actually go where we were going to go because it's damaged.
And where were we going?
Wentwood. Woodward.
It'll all start with W's, yeah. Woodward.
Thank you.
Mr. Chair, we are being reimbursed for the first 100 days, 100%.
The first 45 days thus far, 100%, and if you see other storms as an example, the president can extend it again 15 days at a time. After the 100% expires, then it's 90-10. So then we'll have a 10% match.
And what is our total at this point, total dollars that we estimate?
For total damage citywide, for everything, it's like 69 million.
69 million?
For the whole city, yeah. I mean, but the numbers I just gave you just now were for A, B, and C, because that's what I presume we were like trying to push to get back into. But again, these are preliminary estimates, as the consultant has made very clear to me. These are preliminary estimates, and the insurance company and FEMA are probably not going to be too happy if we're floating these numbers around till they're solid. So these are just preliminary estimates.
Any other questions? None? Any further presentation?
Just going to let Councilman Carroll know that DCEO Tom Schreiner will call you tomorrow to set up a time so you could walk through.
Okay.
All right.
Either myself or
Kelly.
Kelly.
You and
Yeah.
or both. I mean, however you want
Yeah.
to do it. But just so you know, expect that call.
Okay. Thank you, Director.
We're done. Might have been a little bit longer than an hour.
Thank you, Mayor.
45 minutes to an hour. I was a little bit over.
Any further
Thank you.
comments before we move on? Seeing none, Madam Clerk?
I have a motion by Councilmember McKinney, seconded by Councilmember Wilmot on the consent agenda. Council members, please vote. Councilmember Wilmot,
Yay.
Councilman Carroll,
Yay.
Councilman Hayes,
Yes.
Councilman Brannigan,
Yes.
Councilman Brennan,
Yes.
Councilman McKinney.
Yes.
Motion passes 6-0 on the consent agenda. Under the public appearance agenda, we have item 9, public hearings for final passage. Item 9A is a public hearing regarding summary ordinance number 12,904, an ordinance amending ordinance number 10,758 on lot 137-B and approving a planned unit development to all the new construction of 46,817 square foot, 4-story, 114-room True Hotel to be located on lot 137-B, Bridge Office and Industrial Park Subdivision, Kenner Jefferson Parish, Louisiana, in accordance with side, elevation, landscape, and sign plans dated July 16, 2021 by Norman Patton and Associates. I have a motion by Councilmember Carroll, seconded by Councilmember McKinney to open your public hearing. Council members, please vote. Councilman Carroll,
Yay.
Councilman Hayes,
Yes.
Brannigan,
Yes.
Brennan,
Yes.
McKinney,
Yay.
Wilmot.
Yay.
Motion passes 7-0 to open your hearing. We're now in a, motion passes 6-0. We're now in a public hearing. I believe the planning department has a presentation.
Yes, ma'am, thank you. We do. The applicant in this case is Mr. Mike Vera. Before I start, I have 3 boards here that were graciously provided to us by the applicant. I know they may be hard to see. Feel free to come up and take a look if you like. Hopefully soon we'll be able to do more formal presentations, but these are actually quite nice, and they illustrate the site plan, the elevations for the building, and the landscaping plan. So as I stated, the applicant is Mr. Mike Vera, who is doing business as Airport Motel LLC, 2261 North Causeway Boulevard, Metairie, Louisiana, 7001. The applicant is a representative, Kaylee LaBeouf of Dwyer, Cambry, and Suffren, 3000 West Esplanade Avenue, Suite 200, Metairie, Louisiana, 7002. The subject site fronts Veterans Memorial Boulevard, generally bounded by Interstate 10 to the north, unimproved Bainbridge Street, Canal number 19 to the east, and unimproved Lexington Street to the west. Lot 137B is currently mostly undeveloped. It does have some parking related to the overall site where the Hilton Hotel is. On July 21st, 2021, they conducted an early neighborhood meeting located at the Holiday Inn, 1300 Veterans Boulevard. I believe 20 invitations were sent out to surrounding property owners. 3 neighbors attended. 2 neighbors called to inquire about the meeting. The only issue that was raised was would the applicant provide sufficient parking? And they responded yes and would comply with all the rules and regulations regarding parking. The subject lot is governed by Special Ordinance 10,758, which was adopted in June of 2014 and approved the hotel complex with 2 hotels on Lot 137A. The owner subsequently sought a minor site plan change to remove the second hotel approved in Special Ordinance 10,758. Case minor change 315 was approved July 7, 2015, and removed the second hotel located on the west side of Lot 137A. In May of 2018, Ordinance 11,405 was adopted approving the re-subdivision of Lot 137A into lots 137B, 137C, and 137D. Lot 137B is now the subject lot for this PUD case. And the Hilton Hotel is built on Lot 137C. And they're still all owned by Airport Motel LLC, Mike Vera. The applicant is seeking approval to construct a new approximately 47,000 square foot, 4-floor, 114-room true hotel. The hotel will be oriented in a north-south direction with entrance to the hotel from the east side facing the main parking and a patio on the west side for guests. There will be sidewalks located throughout the site connecting guests to both the True Hotel and the Holiday Inn, as well as to the shared swimming pool located on northwest portion of Lot 137C, as well as the parking throughout the site. The Kenner Unified Development Code requires 1 off-street parking per room in a hotel and approximately 1 space for every 7 employees. The True Hotel is providing 114 guest rooms and approximately 25 to 30 employees. So based on that, they would require approximately 120 parking spaces. The applicant is proposing a total of 101. However, pursuant to the re-subdivision that the applicant did, the planning department required them to create a shared parking agreement in anticipation that these additional 2 lots would possibly be developed as hotels. And so the parking will be shared between the True Hotel and the Hilton Hotel. There will be approximately 222 spaces. Between the 2 hotels with employees, they would need about 250. However, after review of several similar developments and some research, the planning department has determined that those spaces will be adequate. Typically for a hotel this close to an airport, every time a guest checks in, there aren't going to be driving. Typically 60 to 75 to 80%, depending on what type of event comes in town, is what you'll have. If you have, if there's 100 rooms that are filled up, you'll probably only have, at max, 75 to 80 parking spots required. A lot of people come in, they'll take the shuttle from the airport to the hotel, and they'll then go to whatever, they're going into New Orleans for a convention, or if they're coming here to Kenner for something at the Pontchartrain Center, they'll probably take Uber or a cab or some other form of transportation. So the planning department is completely satisfied with the amount of parking provided. In addition, because of the shared parking agreement, if the parking were to become an issue, we could require the applicant to provide additional parking on lot 137D, which is currently undeveloped, but is also owned by the same person and part of the shared parking agreement. So we feel with these things in mind, there's adequate parking on the site for both hotels. The landscaping has been reviewed by the city's landscape plan reviewer and determined to meet all the requirements. The hotel does meet all the area and setback requirements for this type of development. They will be providing adequate dumpsters. There will be one for this hotel, addition to the one for the Holiday Inn. In terms of access to the site, they will maintain the two existing ingress-egress points, one located central on the development and the other located on the west side, both off of Veterans Boulevard. There will only be 3 signs. No detached signs will be used for the new hotel. There will be 2 small, approximately 40 to 50 square foot signs, one on the northeast side, I believe, and 2 on the southeast and southwest side. So basically on the south side facing each direction on Veterans. But there will be no detached signage. Finally, this particular development is consistent with the comprehensive plan, and the Planning Commission recommended approval. And that concludes the Planning Department's presentation.
Madam Clerk? You have a question, Councilman?
Thank you, Vice Chair. Mr. Newport, just to clarify, and I'm not picking on your presentation, a few times you said Hilton. A few times.
Oh, I'm sorry,
Pardon me.
Holiday Inn.
Okay, I
apologize.
kept thinking, I know where this is, but when you kept saying the Hilton, I was trying.
I apologize for that.
You were
That's
just
my
saying
mistake.
if we were
It's the
paying
Holiday
attention.
Inn.
Okay, thank
Yes.
you. I just wanted to clarify. Thank you.
Councilman Carroll?
Yeah. Thank you, Mr. President. Thank you, Director, for the presentation. And I guess the confusion is the owner is also an owner of another hotel there.
Correct. The Holiday Inn.
Yeah.
The Holiday Inn.
Yeah, that. Yeah.
And the two hotels, and the other lot on the site.
Exactly. So, this particular footprint, I envision in many years after we are around here, will turn into something, I think, spectacular for the city of Kenner once it gets fully developed with additional monies from different investors. So we look forward to the growth of this. This is the beginning. The owners, because, I have some of my great District 1 the frames here who live in that area, they always want to know what's going on, and they should for that area because it's right, it's the egress and ingress to their home where they've been for a number of years. So is either the architect or, I know Mr. Mike isn't here, but any one of the architects or the developer is here? I'd just like to ask him.
The architect, Norman Patton, is
or,
here.
Okay, yeah, if he can come up, I just have a couple of questions to ask him, and just to welcome him to the city of Kenner again, if he was on the first property. And his name is what, Mr. Director?
Norman Patton.
Hey, Mr.
And also,
Patton.
just in relation to your question, this particular hotel is surrounded on all sides and across Veterans by special industrial property.
Okay.
So there is no residential for at least 2 or 3 blocks.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Patton, name and address, sir.
My name is Norman Patton, 413 Cedar Street, Cedar Hill, Texas.
Thank you, sir, and thank you for the work that you guys are getting ready to do. Thanks for the investment to the city of Kenner. For the project length of time that you anticipate this project to last, and when should we have a feeling for when it's going to be completed? Can you give us a little information on that?
We're actively trying to get everything put together and finalized for starting construction as soon as possible. I know the owner wants to start before the end of this year if we can get all of the approvals and process in place. And it normally takes somewhere between 10 and 14 months. We have a pretty aggressive builder who's saying about 12 months. So that's generally the time frame it'll take to get the building completed. I will say that we are planning on using as many and as owner says as much as maybe 90% local contractors to do the work on the building. So hopefully we can put some people to work here in Kenner.
Yes, and you read my mind. That was my next question, to be able to use some of the, not only from the District 1, but from all over the city, men and women who may be able to support the building of this structure. And once it's built, also to work there. I mean, me and Mr. Mag have had conversations before, because that's important too. You know, people who live along that corridor can walk to work, ride their bike to work. So not only for the project itself, but to be able to get people the opportunities to become financially, you know, a job to support their family. So if the construction is 12 months, it carries on for the length of the duration as long as the property is there. So we appreciate that as well, having the confidence to come in the city of Kenner.
I think it'll be a great addition to that neighborhood, and we look forward to doing a really nice project. And by the way, the True is a Hilton franchise, so you're kind of close with that.
He's kind of close. I help him out a little bit, yeah. Well, thank you, Mr. Patton. We appreciate that and look forward to speaking with you again in the future.
Okay.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you. Oh, are you finished with your presentation, sir? Any other questions? Seeing none, we're still in the public hearing. Can we close it?
I have a motion by Councilmember Carroll, seconded by Councilmember McKinney, to close the public hearing. Council members, please vote. Councilman Hayes?
Yes.
Brannigan?
Yes.
Brennan?
Yes.
McKinney?
Yes.
Wilmot?
Yay.
Carroll?
Yay.
Motion passes 6-0. I have a motion by Councilmember Carroll, seconded by Councilmember McKinney for approval. Is there any further discussion?
None.
Council members, please vote. Councilman Hayes?
Yes.
Brannigan?
Yes.
Brennan?
Yes.
McKinney?
Yes.
Wilmot?
Yay.
Carroll?
Yay.
Motion passes 6-0. Item 9A is ordinances for the sale, purchase, transfer, lease, and/or alienation of a movable property. We have none. Item 10 is opening of bids. We have none. Item 11 is reclassification of zoning. For final passage, we have none. Item 12 is other ordinances for final passage. Item 12A is an emergency ordinance temporarily waiving permit fees if permit was necessitated by damages from Hurricane Ida and otherwise providing with respect thereto. I have a motion by Councilmember Carroll, seconded by Councilmember Wilmot. I believe Councilman Carroll would like to speak.
Yes, thank you, Madam Clerk. Thank you, Mr. President. And I'd like to thank the attorney. Her and I had a conversation prior to the meeting. I still have not submitted my computer. I've been living through my assistant's computer to Mr. Michael over there, so I will definitely get that done. And she shared some information with me. Based on her information, I want to thank you as well, because, you know, I just want to bring up the reason why before that it wasn't given to you, because we didn't have any means to do it, nor could we weren't able to do even the supplemental. So I was not trying to, you know, circumvent you at all. I just want you to understand that. And thank you for the support today. That being said, with the additional information, which is important, I'd like to request for my fellow council members for a 2-meeting deferral, because I would like to speak to the attorney about more about this, you know, to bring me up to speed. So I'm requesting a 2-meeting deferral.
I have a motion by Councilmember Carroll, seconded by Councilmember Wilmot, for a 2-meeting deferral. Any discussion on the deferral? Council members, please vote. Councilman Brannigan?
Yes.
Brennan?
Yes.
McKinney?
Yes.
Wilmot?
Yay.
Carroll?
Yay.
Hayes?
Yes.
Motion passes 6-0. Item 13 is resolutions and motions by council members. We have none. Item 14 is items removed from the consent agenda. We have none. Item 15 is the acceptance of contracts and similar matters approved by the mayor. Item 15A is summary ordinance number 12,906. An ordinance approving an agreement with Crossroads Centers Transportation, LLC for wastewater sludge hauling and sludge trailer maintenance and repairs in accordance with RFP number 21-6592 and an amount not to exceed $326,500 annually for the Department of Wastewater. I have a motion by Councilmember Brennan, seconded by Councilmember Brannigan. Is there any discussion? Councilmember Kenny?
Yes, I just have a question. Is this a new contract, and is this how much was spent previously, if so, and if it's not a new contract, how much was the limit before?
It's a new contract, it's a new vendor. We had a contract with a previous vendor, and it was for about $315,000 annually. So, and it was done by an RFP process.
Okay, and so the previous contract, or the previous amount was $315. What's the reason for the increase?
It's an RFP, so
Okay.
there are many
Okay.
factors that go into judging. It's not just a price comparison. So it's who is the most effective and most beneficial to the city. I don't have all the details on this one, but I know that they have to maintain our equipment, so the sludge hauling trailers.
Okay.
They have to provide maintenance to those, as well as, and it's based off of how many loads per week. So this is an average, this is the estimated number over the 52 weeks, but it could be, it just depends on how much sludge they have.
Right, and the previous contract, was the amount invoiced, that $315, was it that total amount?
I don't believe so, and keep in mind, this is, when we took over from Veolia, that whole thing, this is, I believe this is who they use,
Okay.
not this contract, the one before
The
that.
previous contract.
Yeah, the previous contract, so, let me look real quick. I believe it was more around like 200,000 is what they
Okay, so they were-
actually expended.
Okay.
But we also picked them up in the middle of the year, so.
Okay, thank you.
Questions? None?
Council members, please vote. Councilman Brennan?
Yes.
McKinney?
Yes.
Wilmot?
Yay.
Carroll?
Yay.
Hayes?
Yes.
Brannigan?
Yes.
Motion passes 6-0. Item 15B is summary ordinance number 12,907. An ordinance accepting the lowest responsive bid received from We Can Safety and Environmental Supply, LLC, to purchase 626 retrospec CM-3 children's bicycle helmets in accordance with bid number 21-1983 and an amount not to exceed $11,793.84 for the Department of Economic Development. I have a motion by Councilmember Brennan, seconded by Councilmember Brannigan. Is there any discussion?
If we can just have an explanation on this one? Just for clarity, thank you.
No problem.
All
This
right.
is a purchase of bicycle helmets for the children of the Discovery School under the Safe Routes to School program. It's completely paid for by the federal government.
Any questions? Thank you. Go ahead.
I'm sorry. How is it, I know you mentioned Kenner Discovery School, how are they going to be disseminated? Are they going to be just
Every
given to
child
the
will get
school?
one.
Oh.
Up to 626 children will
Okay.
get one.
Okay, and that's, I would imagine that's the lower school, rather than the high school, or,
I'm not really sure.
okay.
That's up to them.
Okay, thanks.
Okay.
Councilman Carroll?
Thank you, Mr. President. Thank you very much for that explanation. Look forward to the helmets for the children. Did the Kenner Discovery School seek out this grant, or how did it come about?
Councilman Carroll, we inherited this grant from the previous administration, and it had started at another school, and somehow it ended up with the Discovery School. I'm not sure how those changes got made exactly, but it was sitting there, so we implemented it.
I mean, whatever school looked into it and
Yeah.
found out about this is fantastic. My question, which leads to my next question, is there a way to let other schools know about what are the qualifications to qualify for this? And if so, how do we pass that on to other schools to see about maybe?
I can look into whether or not the Safe Routes to School program is accepting any more applications. As I said, this was quite a few years old.
Yeah,
Yeah.
obviously I'm only talking about Kenner schools.
I'd be happy to look for that.
Yeah, I would
And share the
appreciate that.
information. Or you can tell whoever you think might be interested that it's the Safe Routes to School program, which I think they can find on the Department of Transportation and Development website.
Okay, if you don't mind the support for us to talk about it and get it, and then it'll be easier for me, I think, to share and to get the buy-in and the support.
I'll be happy to do
from
that
other
for you.
schools within the city of Kenner to be able to support. And I'll share with my counterparts for the schools within their districts as well. But this is something great. I appreciate that. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you. Any other questions? None? Madam Clerk?
Council members, please vote. Councilman McKinney?
Yes.
Wilmot?
Yay.
Carroll?
Yay.
Hayes?
Yes.
Brannigan?
Yes.
Brennan?
Yes.
Motion passes 6-0. Item 17 is reports from the council and/or special committees.
Madam Clerk, we have
Councilman-
item 16, please.
Oh, I'm sorry, I'm so sorry. Item 16 is ordinances and resolution and summary for first reading. Item 16A, an ordinance dividing the city of Kenner into 5 councilmatic districts and providing an effective date thereof. Item 17 is reports from the council and/or special committees. Councilman Brannigan has his hand up.
Yeah, I've got two things that I've got questions on. Well, the first thing, I don't have a question on it. I got with the Commissioner of Insurance on Tuesday, and we set up meetings in Kenner for the residents to be able to bring their insurance policies to South Kenner at the Council on Aging on Wednesday from 3 to 7 p.m. And also on Thursday, 3 to 7 p.m., they'll be in this facility using our council chambers to answer anyone's questions like they did on the West Bank about how their insurance homeowners policies are going to handle the hurricane and benefits and go over things with them. And I want to thank the mayor for making sure we had a place for these people to meet. I think it's a good deal. Second thing that I have a
George.
yes.
Councilman, do you mind if I add something to that?
Yeah, go ahead.
Because it works with what you're doing, and I want to thank you for bringing that to me. Added to that on Wednesday and Thursday is Thursday from 12 to 2:30, LaHaas Law Firm is going to come here also right before your thing with Jim Donnellan, which you and I worked, I told you about that, to work it out so it goes from one to the other, to actually inform our residents on how, if they're having problems, which leads into what you're talking about, if they're having problems, how they can do it through a law firm and what legal rights you have. So I think this is a great thing that what you've done, Councilman, putting with Jim Donnellan, obviously the insurance, and what Mr. Joey LaHaas is offering a Kenner resident, he's a Driftwood resident actually, and offering that information to our residents works hand in hand with what you're doing. So I think that's two good groups working together. So
Okay.
you posted yours on Facebook. I copied and shared yours, I believe, and then I copied and shared the LaHaas law firms also.
Yeah, and Kenny Ford put that Jim Donnellan's coming to talk to everybody, and he's not.
Yeah, and I
It's
was going to ask you
it's
that.
people that work for the department that have done these meetings, and when he shared it last night, I immediately called him, please change the post. Okay.
Thank you.
All right, the second thing that I want to talk about is the trucks that have been purchased by the city during this emergency deal. I got a call from Feynman Roberts, the reporter for the Times-Picayune last night, and he asked me if I knew how many trucks were purchased and how much we paid for them. And I knew, from the last meeting, Ms. Fauché told us that we had 15 trucks purchased, and I didn't ask how much they were. And as of yesterday, there are 20 trucks purchased, and the total cost on the trucks is $935,000. So my question is, I went through the budget process with a fine-tooth comb, and I didn't see anywhere in the budget where this money would be accounted for. So I'd like to know where it came from to be able to spend almost $1 million on trucks. And the other thing, when I looked at the spreadsheet, there were 4, I think, new trucks because they had 30 miles on them on 2 of them, 3 miles on another one, 62 on one. And when you look at the cost of those trucks, the new trucks were in the mid-30s, $32,000 to $36,000. Some of the trucks that we purchased, the used trucks with the mileage on them, the highest one was $84,780, and then they came down a couple of them in the 70s, a couple of them in the 60s, and I think one in the 50s. There is one on here that we paid $58,680 for, and the mileage is also the same mileage. So basically, I think that's a typo, either in the cost of the truck or the mileage. So I'd like to know where the $935,000 came from. And when you look at the FEMA reimbursements that I was told last meeting, we were getting $20.50 per hour reimbursement, and I'd like to know if that is for every truck or are there different amounts for trucks. And if you look at, if you take the $84,000 truck, it's going to take 10 months at $20.50, using it 14 hours a day, 5 days a week to recoup the money. In the last meeting, I was also told that if we do not recoup enough money to pay off the truck, we'll sell the truck. And I have found out since the last meeting that you cannot sell the truck. It has to go to an auction, and the auction has got to be approved by the city council. And my concern is that if we go to auction, normally you get pennies on a dollar. We have had auctions before. So I am concerned that we will not be made whole on this amount of money. And $935,000 is a lot of money. So I would like to know, one, where it is in the budget, and who authorized these vehicles, and if there are any different dollar amounts on these vehicles other than the $20.50.
Yep. So the money came from the general fund. And like we previously said, a lot of this will be reimbursed through FEMA. They do have different rates based on the vehicle, and I can get that for you if you want to know each vehicle's rate.
Okay. Yeah, and the reason that I would like to know the rates for each vehicle is because when you look at the truck that is $84,000, it takes 4,186 hours at 14 hours a day, 5 days a week. Now, if you're using them 7 days a week, that's going to lower the number of days. Also, so when you look at that one, it's 299 days at 10 months. There are other ones that are 8.5 months, 8 months, 7 months. I'm a spreadsheet guru, and I'm just trying to get some answers on how we're going to address these concerns I have.
And just keep in mind, this disaster is going to last a long time. I met with GOSEP and Deloitte today as we're working through our claim, and the least amount of time we're expecting is a year on some of this equipment being used. So, we've made many purchases, not just these vehicles. We've gotten generators, bypass pumps, light boards, barricades. We have been making all necessary purchases to respond to this disaster. So.
Okay, and if FEMA does not keep us at 100%, then the $20.50 is going to go down.
So what they did already is we're at a 90-10 after the 45 days. So they've already committed to a 90-10. And like Deborah said earlier, the president can keep extending the 100%, but even after 100%, they've already bumped it up to 90-10, where it's normally 75-25.
And how long is that going to be for?
It's through the whole disaster. So you have different different timeframes on, it depends what category of work it is. So like permanent work, I mean, you're talking years. So once FEMA comes out and actually writes the project, we'll have a better idea on timeframes. But as of now, after the 45 days, it's a 90-10 cost share.
Okay.
Let me clarify some information you have about auctions. That information is not correct. You do have to auction it, and the council sets the minimum. So you guys don't have to go in and say, we'll take whatever pennies you get. Based upon the chip shortage right now, I have every reason to believe if we actually did auction these, you're going to get more than your money back. That being said, I did not say that we would sell them if we didn't completely recoup from FEMA. I said we would sell them if we didn't need them. If we go through and pay 90% off and we can get an F-250 and all the capital cost to us is $2,500, I suspect we'll be coming back and saying, council, we want to add this to our capital budget.
That would be a great deal.
Wouldn't it? Because
Oh, yeah.
90%, if 90% is paid by FEMA and it's only 2,500 capitalization for us, I think the time for that really that we'll be discussing that is going to be, we probably won't even know completely by next year's budget time. It's going to end up being, like she said, it's more than a year. We still have open PAs from Katrina here in the city of Kenner from Katrina. When I arrived in Jefferson Parish in 2011, we were still extending the Katrina emergency 30 days at a time for almost another year. So I wish it were something where we could say in 30 days this is going to be over, but the lifetime of time it's going to take for us to recover from this and the amount of time that it's going to take, as long as we are very pristine about making sure that we're documenting what we're doing, and these guys have been very good this time, much better than in the beginning of COVID, then we are going to recover these.
How can we still have stuff from Katrina 16 years ago?
Well, because we submitted things like a missing dog park, and they kept saying, well, we need you to give us the proof of your missing dog park, and we kept giving them proof of the design of the dog park. Apparently what happened on that particular claim was a dog park was designed for Lake Town, and it was designed in an area that washed out to sea. And when the complaint was made for a dog park, and instead it should have been a not structure. So those things remained open. I mean, at this point, you can probably, how many Katrina claims do we have open right now? 5. So we still have 5. When we got here, though, it was like 20, right? So we're narrowing them down. This should not take nearly as long as Katrina, because when Katrina came along, we're all like, what is FEMA? How do we get money from them? So we did not have the refined system or the knowledge that we do now. Also, GOSEP was either not there or not developed the way they are. GOSEP this time came in at the beginning of the emergency and said, we are giving you Deloitte. We've contracted with Deloitte statewide. Deloitte's going to come in and help you put your claims together. So this is not a 10-year thing. We're not going to be leaving this 10 years behind us. This is not going to be something that we're going to be letting the next people inherit. But it's also not, it's not a 2-month thing. This is years. This is 18 months maybe, 2 years.
Okay, so what happens if we end up and we only get half?
Get half of?
$460,000 on these vehicles. We got $460 left that came out of the general fund. That is basically monies that are budgeted for other things in the city. Right?
So what happens is you set the minimum that you want to sell them for at auction, and they sell for that. You don't go to auction. I think you've been misled that auction is we go put it out there and then people buy it for 10 cents on the dollar. That's junk. When we put junk out, yes, that's exactly what happens. But these are very valuable vehicles. Also, we can actually go to private sale. There's special legislation for the city of Kenner where we have to get a fair market value for it. And so I do believe that, I don't think you're at risk, but I do think what's going to happen is we're going to come back to you and say, okay, guys, we've capitalized 75% of this. We want the balance to be in next year's capital budget so that we capitalize the rest of that cost and keep those vehicles. I mean, I sent it to you. I don't think everybody else got it, but 66% of our fleet is more than 10 years old. 20-something% is more than 20 years old. So we need vehicles. This is not how we plan to get them, but the fact that we are getting any reimbursement as opposed to having to come to you guys and say we need vehicles and no one's going to help us pay. So here we've actually got the ability to have recoupment for some, if not all of it. I think this is a wonderful opportunity for us to be able to try to supplement our fleet, but I'm going to turn that over to Chad.
Okay, so I guess my question, another question that I have is, when you're looking at these new vehicles in the 35,000 range, and we spending 84, 71, 68, we could be getting 2 or 3 vehicles for the price of what we paid for the one vehicle.
They're not available. Trucks and vehicles are not being made. The Ford factory shut down again, Councilman.
Okay.
So I have constant communications with Lamarck Ford since this started. We had a need. If you notice for this storm, which has never been done before, we picked 10 major intersections where we were moving light towers around. Those have 100-gallon gasoline containers on them. You can't pull that with anything but an F-250. We had brand new message boards that were brought up to try to get our residents to the distribution sites, to how to register to get your blue roof on your house. You never saw those before because those are new. We just bought those. We need vehicles to pull that stuff around. What we have, the F-250s, what do we have? 6 or 7, I don't know, you may know. We would have 20 if they had them because that's what we needed. But we took what we had, and that's all they had on the lot. So as trucks come in, as you notice, if you look at some of the dates on the chart that I sent you, some were purchased, I think, last week. If they call me tomorrow and tell me they have 2 F-250s that are available, I'm going to get them because we need them. We need them this day. Our employees are riding 2 and 3 riding in the back of a pickup truck to try to get to jobs where we're having to combine people because we don't have vehicles. We had to give vehicles to the fire department. The fire department was responding to medical roles in a City of Kenner yellow and green vehicle. Our fleet is in horrible condition, and I sat in front of y'all in May and told y'all that. The numbers that Ms. Foshee repeated, I said to y'all in May. Our fleet is horrible. This is the time for us to upgrade our fleet to get our people into vehicles that we can actually do something with, instead of the bumper getting pulled off as we're going down Williams Boulevard because the vehicle's so old and rusted.
And I know that our fleet is old, there's no doubt. My concern is making sure that the taxpayers are made whole on the purchases for these trucks. And that is my major concern. That's a lot of money, a lot of money.
Councilman, if there were F-250s that were available that were less than that, we would have absolutely gotten those as well. I'm just telling you that's what was available. There is not a single F-250 on the Lamarck Ford lot right now. I speak to Mr. Brandon Lamarck on a daily basis because I'm looking for them.
Yeah, we have 4 of them and we have an F-350.
And we would have more if they were available.
Like I said, my concern is making sure that our taxpayers are not put behind the 8 ball because we cannot get the FEMA reimbursement right or get a sale done and to have where we lose money. I would love for every one of these trucks to be paid for, obviously.
That's our goal. Look, we're all in the same thing. This is not our personal vehicles, right? This is the city's vehicles. We're all sharing the same thing that you have as well.
Okay. I would like to be updated continuously on any more vehicles that are purchased, because I am tracking this.
Mayor? Would you like to be updated on the other $5.5 million of purchases we've made so far?
Well, I mean, yeah.
No, I'm just saying, this is under $1 million. Would you like the other 5.5?
Well,
This is under $1 million.
How long is that going to take to put that list?
Well, I don't know. I'm just concerned. I'm just confused why the vehicles are an issue, and the meals for our, I'll read them. The meals for our employees, the washer and dryers for the fire department, the message boards for our constituents. Now, this is all for constituent services. I just want to make sure. The generators, the cones, the barricades, Kenner Police Department blowers, chainsaws, and radio batteries, fencing, lighting, trailers, rentals. I'd have to read you the list of rentals that are there. I just find it a little concerning, I guess, that it's only the vehicles that the employees that I have come to 2 council meetings right now, and I'm going to tell you, I take a little, I'm insulted by this, because the employees that I have praised, I have not praised me at all. I don't deserve the praise. The employees deserve the praise. These were bought for employees to use. Is some administration, including myself, have used one? Absolutely. Absolutely, because we needed to get through the streets. You saw what it was like. So I'm just wondering why under $1 million purchases are important, very important, but why that's in question, why the importance is on that question when $5.5 million of other purchases for Ida is not on the table right now.
Well, it just.
No, I just,
No, I mean, and that would be great to get that list, but there's a lot more, important things, like Chad being out there rebuilding the city, obviously. And, it's a situation where I think that going there, we would love to have a list of everything that's been purchased.
okay. But why hasn't that been asked for? Why is it only the
But
trucks?
the way I feel about this
And
is.
let me add this, the trucks from McKenna Business. McKenna Business has been here
No,
for
I
numerous
understand.
years.
Lamar Ford is
Right.
going to be very,
So we didn't go
very
to
happy.
Texas or Arkansas to buy these trucks.
I
We bought them
understand.
right here in the city of Kenner.
I understand Lamar Ford is got to be ecstatic about selling $1 million of trucks in 16 days. I get that. I understand that. But the thing that is concerning is the amount of money that we spent on vehicles and the fact that if it's 100% needed and you can identify that,
I think
I'm
we
good
have.
with it.
I think we have, but it's not concerning for the 5.5 million.
No, it's concerning for everything.
Okay, but it
Jack.
hasn't been a discussion at 2 council meetings so far, Councilman. It's only been the trucks that our employees have put this city back together with.
Okay,
Every
what-
vehicle that was purchased has been used to put this city back together. The F-250s that we're quite aware that were purchased and how many were purchased are being driven to pull things around the city, such as, and correct me if I'm wrong, Chad, message boards, trailers, the things that y'all ask Chad Pitfield for every day, and he does have a lot of important things to do. I think this was one of them. When he came to me and you asked who made the decision, blame me. I'm the guy that made the decision, because when Chad Pitfield comes to me, or Adam Campo, Tom Schreiner, Liz, or Deborah Foshee, I ask, how much do we need to do it for? When do we need to do it? And what are you going to use it for? And they tell me, and I say, absolutely. There is an executive position in the city of Kenner. You're looking at him. I have to make decisions quickly. We're in an emergency. You were in the emergency with us in the first week or so, right?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, you saw what this city was like. Numerous calls from probably everybody on this council. What are we going to do? This is what we did. This is what we did. I made decisions. I kept y'all updated. We didn't keep this from the council. If we kept it from the council, we wouldn't have pulled up in F-250s for y'all to see. How are we not keeping it? Well, I know, but it's come back through the media that was the council consulted. Absolutely, they were consulted when they asked, what is that? That's for putting the city back together. So this wasn't put under some kind of rock someplace and hidden, but I guess the $5.5 million was because those things aren't being questioned. I just found it I think the public probably finds that a little confusing and a little questionable politically, why that's not questioned.
Well, you know what, maybe you should have your administration send the whole council the list of everything that
We'd be
was
happy
purchased.
to. We'd be happy to because
That-
it's
that
all
would be
public
a great
record.
thing.
Absolutely.
But I never accused anyone of hiding under a rock, ever.
I didn't say you did. I'm just saying we did not hide it underneath the rock. But I'm just confused why under $1 million worth of purchases that are servicing the city, like the other 5.5 million, is not in question. It's just a little weird to me, and I think the public would probably understand that
Well,
too. I'm
yeah,
done.
You know, it's a little weird to me to spend $1 million on these trucks. So if it's justified, and I'm fine with it if it's justified.
Mr. Chairman.
Councilman, I have served the city of Kenner, whether on this council that you sit on or Justin Parish's council, since 2006. I think I had the experience, along with this administration, to make the decision that we need to make during an emergency. When he comes to me and says, I need this, I think I made a good decision, if not the best decision, to make sure that our fleet is put back. And I'll take those numbers from Deborah Foshee, that if it's 25% that we owe on $1 million, that's going to help this council out next May.
And if I may say something, if I may have the floor, Councilman?
Go ahead.
I just wanted to mention too, sometimes we have oddities, and this is one of them. We had a storm, right? So, this purchase has been made, and this body is, and as the Councilman, Brannigan is saying, he should question, or we should question some of these transactions, or it's just a matter of checks and balances. That's what we do, and that's healthy government. So I wanted to make that comment. So, and Councilman Hayes, you had a question?
Well, we started this meeting by all saying we're in this together, and obviously we have a major problem that we're dealing with on a daily basis, but I want to thank the administration for a very thorough, comforting, and informative response. Thank you so much.
Anybody else? Councilwoman?
Yes, thank you, Council President. In response to some of the questions, I do think that Councilman Brannigan has, just to echo what Councilman Wilmot said, I really think that, asking these questions is a good thing because we want to understand. It's really understanding. We want to understand. I know that's under the emergency powers. You guys have to respond and make decisions every day, and I think that that's part of government. We're the oversight body, so we just want to understand, just like the other, I was requesting that information. We just want to understand, and we can't understand the information and understand your decisions until we get information. And I think, you're pointing out the 5.5 million. I do want that information because I want to understand all of the expenses that have been, everyone knows I'm the budget analyst, so I want to understand it. I want the details. Maybe everyone else doesn't want the details, but I do want the details. And it's not to be combative. It's not to question. It's just to understand what, understand your decisions. Because as a cost analyst, that's what I do as a job. Why are we doing this? So information is and that knowledge gives us an understanding of what is going on. And I do have a question because about, and maybe it's an easy answer. In the capital budget, we had 22 leases. So why did we decide to purchase versus lease? Because I know in the past we've been leasing, and obviously maybe that was a matter of, okay, well, we had to do that. So I do have that question. And then, and maybe we don't have to answer this now, but I'm just curious to see what is the size of the fleet. I know you said 20% is over 20. I think it makes a difference of 22 vehicles. We have a fleet of 500,000 vehicles or 5,000 vehicles versus 20 vehicles. That purchase matters more. It's a magnitude, right? So
So as far as your lease question, Councilwoman, we're talking several days after a Category 5 hurricane coming through the city. But the number two, the most important, is FEMA does not reimburse a lease. And as far as fleet size, in May, when I approached y'all, we have 199 pieces of equipment. That's from a tractor to a backhoe, and that includes the city municipal and the fire department. That does not include the chief of police, his fleet.
And, excuse me, Council Chair? And Chad, Ms. Foch, did you say some of these were used vehicles?
Majority of them were used vehicles.
I don't.
35, 45, 60,000 miles on these vehicles. They were not brand new.
I'm not a car wizard, but I don't think you lease used vehicles, right? I mean, I don't think you can walk into a dealership and say, I want to lease that 7-year-old truck or 4-year-old truck.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I wouldn't, but we didn't. Like I said, FEMA wouldn't reimburse a lease anyway.
It was 16 used and 4 did. Deborah, I hope that we get 100% of the money back.
I'm going to do my best, Councilman Brannigan.
And we'll make sure that y'all get the $6.5 million of expenses.
That's fine.
We'll make sure you get all that. No intention, and I appreciate it, Christie, what you said, no intention to keep it from anybody. It's just sometimes it's just puzzling that certain things are questioned, other things aren't. So we'll get everything to you all, which is not a problem. We've just been a little busy. I'm not saying y'all haven't, but we have been a little busy. So restoring this city back to like it was, which is not there yet, but at least somewhat functional, was first and foremost. It was not worried about things that were going to be reimbursed from FEMA. But absolutely, I've been in your seat. You're absolutely owed what we've done. Just give us some time.
Thank you, Mayor. We look forward to getting that. Anybody else have any questions?
Yeah, all right.
Councilman Carroll?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. President. First, I'd like to thank Councilman Brannigan for the support of the meeting because, when he reached out and asked about having the support in South Kenner about the insurance, thank you, because he didn't have to do that, but he did, because, you know, we live in a city that's, you know, on a straight line, north and south, and not only does it help people who have challenges with travel, but it gives two opportunities for the people who does have vehicles and they can't travel. So if you miss one, you'll be able to catch the other one. So thanks again, Councilman, I appreciate that. As the citizens will obviously be there to ask questions because we are always asking questions about that. And I too would like to get the information on the 5.6 million, the cars. I think the information, as everyone said, we need to know that. When an emergency happens, a lot of the stuff mentioned on the 5.6 are obvious things that we know, you know, and I don't want to say we are questioning them, but it goes with having a hurricane as we had. So to be able to get information, to have a detailed breakdown are questions that people are going to ask. So I look forward to getting that information as well for both of them. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Councilman. Any other? Nothing further?
Item
Next.
18. Item 18 is new business. We have none. Item 19 is unfinished business. Motions to reconsider or remove from the tabled position. We have none. Item 20 is persons wishing to address the council on special subject matters.
Mr. Marky Dietrich, is he here? How you doing today?
I'm doing good, sir.
Good. Name and address.
Marky Dietrich, 3401 East Loyola Drive, and I'm not in taking Mr. Al's place tonight. What I'm here to speak about is really nothing that anybody did wrong during this hurricane incident. It's just a what if. What if that storm would have made a harder turn to the east and the eye would have passed over the city or even the metro area? And due to the fact the storm went and developed so quickly, there was a parallel with the powers that be, not talking about any of y'all, I'm just talking about powers that be, about doing a contraflow and also a mandatory evacuation. These storms, it seems like they were growing in strength quickly right before they hit. And if something's a 2 and the next day it's all of a sudden a 4, and nobody's even thinking about evacuation, you're 18 to 36 hours before the landfall, and you're going to say, well, hunker down and stay in place, and let's say the outfall canal at the parish line fails and everything north of I-10 floods, somebody's gonna have a lot of egg on their face. And I know most of y'all were around for Katrina. And Mr. Aaron Broussard got a lot of egg on his face for sending the pump operators to the North Shore, all because of his plan. He followed his plan. What needs to be done as far as evacuation and also contraflow is to be a little more flexible. If you have to, if you don't have your 48 hours or 56-hour window, make it work. Contraflow has a problem at Baton Rouge and that bridge. So what they need to do is not stop the contraflow, say, in Gramercy or someplace in that area. They need to continue it through Baton Rouge, maybe even to Lafayette. For the simple reason is the more people can get out of the area, is better. And I thank you very much for your time.
You want to wait just 1 second?
Sure.
Anybody have any questions or comments to Mr. Dietrich? No? Okay, food for thought. We appreciate you coming in,
That's
sir.
exactly what this is all about. I mean, I'm just saying, what if? And like I say, no legislative body is going to want to be taking the blowback when they're pulling people out of houses like they did Katrina.
Thank you.
Okay? Thank you.
We appreciate it. Next, Mr. Melvin Hurst. Yes. You come up, sir, and give us your name and address.
I'm Melvin Hurst Sr. I reside at 3137 Lexington Avenue, Kennedy Lincoln Manor subdivision, I know that there are procedures that we need to go through when we have a complaint. And I've gone through those procedures over and over and over again with the police department, with code enforcement, and nothing has changed. So I decided I'd present this to this body, and maybe something will change. To the mayor, the members of the council, chief, I stand before you today to voice my complaint about my neighbor, Michael Bush. I'm more than sure a lot of code enforcement officers are familiar with that name. He resides at 3132 Lexington Street.
Mr. Hurst, if we
Yes.
can, try and refrain from saying others' names.
Okay.
Okay?
Okay, I will. Code enforcement has been at his home on many occasions because he would bring heavy equipment on the street and block the street and our driveways. When I talked to him about it, he would bring more equipment, and the police has been called on many times. He's been to court at least 3 times, twice in Jefferson Parish, where he was found in contempt of court for a second time and was fined $750. He was told that if he came back again, he would go to jail. He was found guilty in the city of Kennecott, where he was fined $350 and received 60 days probation, which he broke. I have pictures and I have documents to show that this is true. This person has shown he has no consideration for his neighbors.
Mr. Hurst, so
Yes.
we gotta try and make the you're actually talking directly about a particular individual. And if you have those types of complaints and so forth, if you could maybe get together with administration, again, we have somebody here that could probably address your questions and concerns when the meeting's over. Do we have somebody, Mayor, that
Yeah, I was going to, thank you.
Okay.
Myself, Deborah Foshi, and Mr. Tom Schreiner, who oversees code, Deputy CEO, will get with you right after this meeting.
Oh, okay. You know, I appreciate you giving me the time, but
No, that's fine.
I've
That's fine.
exhausted every
And
possibility.
let me just say this,
Yes.
and the chief can speak for himself. There's been some changes in code. I mean, the police department works very closely with the code department, but we've made some changes. So I think working with the chief, with the police department, with the code changes that I've made, I think we can resolve this issue and get something done for you.
Okay.
is that your main concern? We addressed it?
Well, we will.
Yeah, well, I say
I'll
address
let you-
the
I'll get it
issue.
addressed.
Yeah, okay, thank you,
All right,
Mayor.
thank you.
Thank you, Mr.
Okay.
Hurst. Next, we have Mr. Greg Teff. Mr. Teff? Name and address, sir. It's good to see you.
Thank you. Greg Tapp, 3720 West Loyola Drive. I do want to remind everyone, Al Morell is not here, but I did talk to him the other night, and he said he will be back. What I want to bring up is, listening tonight and listening to or reading some of the comments on Facebook, etc., regarding where we've been and where we come from during this storm. If everybody goes back to Katrina, a lot of folks didn't come back to the city for a month. The city had plenty of time to clean up, like the trees that came over and stuff like that. But this time, a lot of people stayed. And I think it's unfair to say that we have done a fair job when really we've probably done a good job, if not better than most, because we were faced with down trees in the road. We were faced with people, because they stayed, unloading on the debris or doing their demolition right away. And to be honest with you, I want to say that the city of Kenner is probably way ahead of other parishes and other jurisdictions when you come to cleaning up debris, and the way the citizens were taken care of that stayed. We had a lot of volunteers that supplied water, food. I mean, to me, what I saw, as y'all alluded to in the very beginning, everybody came together. It was. Because you came together, you took something very, very bad and you turned it into a positive way because people were being taken care of because they stayed. And as Dietrich pointed out, a lot of us stayed because we didn't think that storm was going to be that strong. So we were caught. So I just want to say that, you know, from looking at what Ivy has done to help clean up the city, and I also want to point out that at the last council meeting, Ms. Fauché brought up something that I thought was very important. Some of the speakers that came up here, they had already got with them in advance, already set it up in advance so that if we went through this, the city would have a chance to come out of it quickly. Because to me, if we come out of it in about 3 or 4 months, that's quick compared to Katrina. That we were better prepared than we were during Katrina, and I think we've even made better progress than what they did during Katrina because, like I said, you didn't have residents here after Katrina. You had a few. But this time you had a mass. And we had to come together, and I think this city did a phenomenal job putting it all together. And I'm not the only one that feels that way. I want y'all to know that. Because I talked to a lot of people, and those of us that were back in Katrina knew that we were not here for a month. What we came back to, unloaded our house, then we threw it all out. This time it was being thrown out early, along with the fallen trees, along with all the things that happened. You know, half of my patio was on the other side of the street. I mean, I'm just pointing out to you that we made some progress. And I think that we have to recognize that when we work together as one, we took on a monumental project, and we're beating that thing, and we're working with the citizens. We've helped the citizens through it, and I think that was the best thing the city could have done. It showed its true colors.
Thank you, Mr. Teff. Your time is up, but we appreciate all your comments, and it's very nice of you to give us a pat on the back, and I think a lot of folks here do deserve it, so thank you very much. Next, we have Ms. Stacy Alessandro. Ms. Stacy, name and address.
Stacy Alessandro, 3309 Chateau Boulevard. First off, I want to thank Councilman Brannigan for bringing up the issue about the trucks. The reason he's bringing that up and not the rest of the 5-point-whatever million is because it's very suspicious. I mean, did we hire 20 new people? I don't think so. What were those people driving the week before the storm? Hauling signs and transporting people to jobs? People can go to jobs in cars, buses. They don't have to be transported in trucks. As far as the breakdown of what Mr. Brannigan was saying was how long it's going to take to recoup that money, you're just talking about the cost of the truck. What about the gas? These F-250s, they get, 8-10 miles to a gallon? How much of that money are we going to spend in gas alone to recoup what we're spending? What about insurance and maintenance? I think this truck purchase, anybody, the general viewing audience can see that this is suspicious. That's why we're asking about it. As far as the trash pickup, I don't like the hostile attitude citizens are getting when we're asking about it. Some people haven't had any pickups. It's been 30 days. Saying 75,000 happy customers and only 25 not happy. How out of touch are you if you think only 25 people in this city are not happy right now? Why wasn't this a coordinated effort, like Councilman Carroll was saying, with the districts? Okay, we have 5 districts, just 5. Surely we have 20 trucks on the road at any given time. Put 4 in each district. That way the people on the end aren't waiting till everybody else gets service before they get a pickup. Have all 5 districts at the same time. And you know you have 4 trucks in each district or however many. Not hard to keep track of that. We could be getting a report. It seems like there was no preparedness here. I'm not saying the city did a bad job and everything, some aspects, great job. But I'm pointing out that this is dismal, this response. I want to talk about, I also want to thank Councilman Brannigan for bringing in Insurance Commissioner Jim Donnellan. Huge thing for the city. Huge. No?
Not Jim Donald.
Insurance?
His people.
His people. Okay, his people. Anyway, his office. They're going to look at our policies. They're going to give us one-on-one help. How much better can that be? Thank you so much for that. Which ties into this other seminar that's going to be held here. I have questions about that. This attorney who puts on these seminars, and I'm not saying anything bad about him. He's probably a very nice guy with a lot of information. But his job is he goes around the country and puts on these seminars. He gives great information, but then he also feeds the people, and that's a way for him to drum up private business. Are you extending this? Because there's a ton of these attorneys. Are they all going to get an invitation to come to city property for free and do it? I mean, since when do we even allow this? This isn't just some random agency and not a governmental agency. This is a private attorney. And the last thing I want to say is that I want the citizens to be aware there's a ton of these attorneys and companies and stuff that say they're going to help you with your claims, and they give you great information, and they make you think that the insurance company is going to mess you over. And when they do, you go and you get help from them. Fine. Some people are going to need that, but with so many all of a sudden in the city, please, if you're going to pick one, don't just go because they're nice and you liked what they said or how they looked. Do a Google search. Put in that person's name, and then put in some keywords like malpractice, that person's name complaints, that person's name lawsuits. Check these people out, because I think you're going to be very surprised at what you find out. So just be vigilant.
Thank you, Ms. Alessandro.
Hold on, I think she's got some questions for me. Because I know I'm guilty of helping Kenner residents. Mr. Joey LaHaas, who owns LaHaas Law Firm, he is the Civic Association president of Driftwood. He is the same individual, along with Matt, I forgot Matt's last name, and a couple of other guys, who the night of the storm is texting me saying, how can I help? I have chainsaws. I have this. I have that. I said, Joey, just sit tight. We'll get to you. He's also the same individual that showed up, when we started doing the pod? 2 days after the storm? 2 days after the storm with volunteers to take ice from us to go hand out, which was his idea, not mine, setting up a tent out the back of a truck that they probably came and loaded 4 or 5 times to hand out to anyone who came to him in Driftwood, not just Driftwood residents. I also even said, when I did a PSA with this person, I guess, who just wants to make money, other Civic Association presidents, if you want to do it, we'd love to load you up and do the same thing. I almost couldn't get rid of him. That's how much he wanted to help. And I welcomed that help. You know, I didn't hear from you that you wanted to do anything for, is it Holly Heights?
Because the last time
No,
I came, you tried to have me arrested on multiple bogus felonies.
Well, that's a whole different
which
story
the
when you
DA,
threaten
no,
an
it's
elected
not.
official.
You're asking me
No, but
why I
did you-
didn't come to you because
I'm sorry,
the
I thought
DA.
this was my time. I thought this was
not
my
your
time.
time.
It's
It's
not
my
my time?
time.
We need to,
It's not
The
my
DA
time.
refused
So
those bogus
Joey
charges.
LaHaas is the one who is coming here, and you know what the price
His
tag?
name is Joey Lahat. If
Can
you want to
can I
talk about,
speak?
Ms. Alessandro.
I didn't say he was my good friend. I said that he's a good Kenner resident. He's the one.
Okay.
I know a lot of people, Stacy.
Okay. Yeah.
So,
we-
well, can I defend a Kenner resident that she is attacking?
I'm not
You're not going to
attacking
allow
you.
that?
I didn't hear any names.
Oh, really?
I didn't.
Oh, really?
hear-
Because
you brought the name
Jim
up. I
Dolan
didn't-
thing's okay, but this is not.
No, I didn't hear any names, Mayor. I didn't hear any names. I didn't know anybody was
She did-
under attack.
She
I
did
didn't
say,
hear it.
she did say the name. So if I could finish,
Did you say the name?
I don't think I did.
She said the Lahat Law Firm.
I never heard
We'll
of it.
have to
Okay,
listen
well,
to the
I'm
tape
sure you
again.
didn't, Tom, but I did. And I'm sure my administration heard it, and I'm sure some council people heard it. So he's coming here, and the price tag is free. He is supplying lunch, and I will offer that to anyone who wants to come. But of course, maybe you can get with me or send me the email of all the lawyers you check out to make sure that they're okay, because I wouldn't want to put a lawyer in here that's not okay. And Joey will be fine coming in here doing that. This is to help Kenner residents, ones that are not getting what they should be getting from their insurance company. I guess you didn't hear me say, when I complimented Councilman Brannigan, that Jim Donlin will be here, and Jim Donlin's group will be here. I'm sorry, George. Jim Donlin's group will be here, and it works hand in hand with that. So you have Jim Donlin's group before, the night before, the evening before. You have Lahat the next day, and then you have Jim Donlin following that. So if you really want to be informed, I would take advantage of everything.
No, I'm
And
informed
since-
already.
Oh, I think you are now. Yeah.
I've been informed. This
thank
is
you.
a private citizen. This is not a business. This is a
It's a private
citizen.
citizen, right? Thank you for clarifying that. A private citizen that's not owed the right to come in here with a flawless record that can come in here. and
Flawless
offer-
record?
Okay, I guess we're getting
Let's-
into that.
yeah,
It's
let's-
not,
let's-
Okay.
let's-
this is
let's-
not me, so I
let's-
mean,
Well-
I find it interesting that there's an attack on
Let's
a Kenner
get this-
Civic Association
Okay, I would
president.
just like to clarify, since this is my time, I am not attacking anybody. I never attacked this man at all. At all. I just said in general, you need to check people out.
I thought we were in a discussion over defending him, but that's all right. I'm finished. He'll be here from 12:30 or 12 to 2:30 on Thursday.
Thank you, Mayor. But Mayor, I did not hear a name, but you, okay. All right, thank you. Thank you, Ms. Alessandro.
Thank you.
Next, we have Mr. Wilbert Bradford III. Name and address, sir?
My name is Wilbert Bradford. The third address is 2530 Kenner Avenue. This is my first meeting, so forgive me if I don't have everything correct. What I'm here today for, I spoke with Mr. Pitfield about 500 Taylor Street Park, which is the Rosemary Park. I'm trying to understand for the last 30 years why we've always had a tennis court there. At that park, it showed, if you base the demographics, no one uses that tennis court. Instead, they used it for getting together, socializing, doing things like that. So after 30 years, I was wondering if it was okay to possibly upgrade that. So I spoke with Mr. Pitfield and I asked him, would now be good time right now, being as though we're in the midst of redeveloping and getting this stuff back together. And he said we should, in the future, speak about it. So I told him, what if I sponsor, and, you know, with the help of the Kenner officials, you guys, not that it's super important, but what if I sponsored the park and could get the basketball courts there, just in that one section on 500 Taylor Street, which, like I said, in 30 years, no one's played tennis to practice, no one's played a game. It's been of no sort for the demographics of that neighborhood. And the closest outdoor playground for that neighborhood is by Jesse Owens, I believe. And no one uses that as well. So that's all I had.
Comments?
I have a comment.
Councilman?
Yes, thank you, Mr. President. Thank you, sir. Thanks for coming today, but did Mr. Pitfield introduce you or mention my name at all as the councilman for that area?
No, so when I spoke with them, because I'm familiar with you know when I was doing the march, I did the march that when we had the protesters, I did that, I put together that march that you guys helped with escorting and things.
Yeah.
No, when I spoke to him, he just said that he would speak to me in future times. So I told him I didn't want this conversation to get lost, being as though I would think now is the time, being as though we're redeveloping Kenner anyway. And, you know, he said he would get with me and get his schedule. So I left a voicemail on Miss Kelly's answer machine for you. So I knew I would get back, and I also mentioned to him that I did that as well.
Yeah, I look forward to talking to you and maybe bringing you up to speed with some additional information about the tennis court and all that. So we can talk about that and possibly some of your ideas we may be able to bring it to fruition. But you know, I definitely want to be able to talk to you about that and add more information with you about how do we move forward, maybe some of your ideas. I'm not saying if you're saying to alleviate the tennis court, I'm not sure, but when we talk, we'll figure that out.
I do more not alleviated, more just being as
To utilize it for something.
yeah. Maybe
I
we
got
can even make it a two-way thing. You know what I'm saying? Like
Okay.
maybe position a net that we can possibly move. You know, on
Okay.
certain days, and keep the hours and just upgrade the security for the hours of time that we leave it open. You know, so that way it's not you know, damaged or you know no. It
Yeah, we
doesn't-
don't want, I look forward to our conversation. I'll give you my card before I leave with my cell number so we can talk.
I appreciate it, sir.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Councilman Carroll. Next, we have Mr. Chris Accardo. Name and address, sir.
All right, thank you. My name is Chris Accardo, and I live at 85 Dogwood Drive in the Louisiana Trace subdivision. I'm here to talk about Cox Cable. We having issues right now where we all know, look, we went through a major event here. We had a hurricane, destroyed everything, and we lost power, we lost internet service, cable, and the whole bit. So everybody understands that, but about 7 days after the storm, we got electricity, we got internet service, but what has happened is the internet service from Cox has been totally obliterated in the Louisiana Trace subdivision. Now, what I understand, there were some Cox trucks that were along vintage, and I went and talked to them to see what was happening, when would services be restored, and they really, Cox doesn't give you an answer. I don't know if you guys have ever tried to get in touch with Cox and ask them questions, but they don't know what's going on, okay? And I know I've been talking to one of the council members here. They've been trying to help, but if any of you guys have any stroke or know anybody with Cox, I know the people in Louisiana Trace would really appreciate if you could get some information for us so that we can, you know, at least give people an idea of when these services are going to be turned on.
Mr. Carter, we do have a representative that was just here at the last meeting who was reaching out to us for these instances that you're referring to. And I believe you are in District 5?
We spoke yesterday, and Christina is working with, it's apparently, the question is whether it's Entergy's pole and who, AT&T apparently damaged the Cox line. I mean, it's almost like a movie.
Yeah.
But Christine and I spoke yesterday, and so did Patrick Hamby, who's our Entergy representative. They are working on it. I was hoping to have an update today to talk about it at the meeting, but I did not hear back from them. But I'm confident we'll hear something tomorrow.
Okay, well, I don't share your confidence, with all due respect, because we have been calling and calling. All we want is an answer on when will services be restored.
I
You know,
understand.
it's just so frustrating dealing with that company.
And you know, Mr. Accardo, I got an email or a text. Days are running together. Tuesday, there's one house in South Lake that's having an issue, and his neighbors have it. Everybody has it. He doesn't have it. They're trying to pinpoint that.
Yeah.
And I know there's so much devastation and damage, and I know that doesn't help you with that. You don't have it.
No, I appreciate your efforts. You have been texting me back and forth, and for what it's worth, I do appreciate your
It's
efforts.
fine.
Yeah.
We're working to get all this taken care of. It's going to be a long process for everybody, and we will reach out to Jefferson Parish as well and our counterparts there, because I understand that's the only option in Louisiana Trace.
Yeah,
And,
it
you
is.
know, if AT&T needs to try to do something there, we can reach out with the partners on the council and the administration here with Jefferson Parish and try to see if we can get some more options for people in those areas that don't have another option.
Yeah, if we had another internet supplier, I think the whole subdivision would sign up tomorrow. But anyway, all I'm asking the council, if y'all get any information, just, if you could text it back to me so that I could relay it. We're just starving for information.
I understand, and if, you know, my wife, if she doesn't get her soap opera every day, it gets really ugly around the house. So
No, but you gotta understand, you know, kids are trying to work from home because of COVID.
Absolutely.
I'm trying to work from home, it's my business, and all that's turned off.
I understand.
Because some guy from AT&T ran over a pole that was post-hurricane. This has nothing to do with the hurricane. I mean, you had an AT&T truck hitting an energy pole that supported Cox. I mean, you can't make this stuff up, you know? So, anyway, any help y'all can supply would be much appreciated.
It's not off the radar. It's
All right.
not off the radar.
Can I ask a question why AT&T cannot go into Louisiana Trace?
I don't know.
They
I
don't.
talked to AT&T today, trying to ask that. They're not set up to do it. They say in about 3 or 4 months, okay? I don't know. Maybe there's not enough homes in there.
I mean, it's private streets, I get it, but we'll speak to the developer and see what the issue is with that, because that would maybe give you an option.
Oh, absolutely. We would welcome that enormously.
But could they run it off the public right away?
We talked about it yesterday.
Okay.
Or Tuesday. You know, I don't think.
No, I got it.
So.
But until that happens, Cox has us, you
Right,
know.
they got the monopoly, huh?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, and they don't have to provide
All right.
good service
I was
because they
just
can't go nowhere
wondering why
else.
they couldn't, but, I mean, Councilman Brennan has it, he's handled it, I appreciate that, I just had a question of why they can't, you know, but I guess there's a reason why, but maybe we talk to the developer also. So, thank you.
All right, thank you very much, appreciate it.
Thank you for coming in. And that wraps it up. Next, Council Clerk? That's it? Motion?
I just had one
Oh.
thing to say.
Sure. Councilman Carroll?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. President. Sorry about that. I just wanted to remind everyone that September is Suicide Prevention Awareness Month. I know it's something that we really don't like talking about. I realize in my other job that I have to deal with it a couple of times a year for people who commit suicide. You know, it's an awareness, it's stigmatized, it's a taboo topic. But, you know, it's our responsibility to shift public perception because it affects all of us, all of our families. And, you know, so I'm just saying this is Suicide Prevention Month. I have a number, a hotline number for people, 1-800-273-8255. I'll get my assistant to post after. Or if you really don't have that number, just call 911 because this is a sensitive topic. And, you know, it's something that each and every one of us have to be able to share and to help as much as we can. And unlike breast cancer, which starts next month, that is always on television, is always in the sports, is everywhere. But the suicide prevention is serious, particularly now with the pandemic. I think this is something that you know, everybody would appreciate to be able to help support this for all of us. So thank you very much. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Councilman Carroll, for the health care concerns. Anybody else? I think we're done. Motion and a second? Second. Adjourned. Just call me.